Who could have ever predicted this? Wulong certainly didn't. Despite being the chosen one of the Central Plains, he never imagined that a rising minor force, like the Demon Suppression Sect, would be the one to end his life in just a matter of months. As the fierce battle rages across the sky, the final image in Wulong's fading view is clear, a handsome young man in black. Having already defeated numerous opponents, Qin Heng realizes that the landscape and era of the Central Plains are about to change forever, opening a brand new chapter for this ancient continent. Holy Lord Yi, your brothers and you deserve to die. Leaders from surrounding holy lands watch in utter shock. No one expected the battle to last less than a minute. Enter Qin Heng, a supreme powerhouse from the ancient Central Plains, dubbed the God of Death. Maintaining an attitude of utter indifference, Qin Heng effortlessly unleashes countless divine attacks across multiple paths. Recognizing that these holy land leaders have varying strengths, weaknesses, and objectives, Qin Heng refuses to engage in a wasteful war of attrition. Most of his attacks are designed to cautiously probe these leaders before he weaves lethal strikes directly into the crowd, systematically reducing their numbers and draining their combat strength. After all, these aren't even their true physical forms, just their destinies manifested. Fully materializing physical forms would require tactical calculation. Otherwise, failing in front of the entire Central Plains would be utterly humiliating. Take the crab feather attack, for instance, a lethal technique hidden cleverly within a barrage of strikes. The Misty Holy Land makes a critical mistake, while the Heaven Spirit Holy Land tries to rely on a borrowed mirror for defense, though it proves useless. Overwhelmed by a swarm of demons, even the youngsters from the Heaven Spirit Holy Land, boosted by borrowed artifacts, find themselves completely outmatched. True to his unwavering principle of vengeance, Qin Heng's first major target is none other than Wulong. A torrential downpour of attacks, strikes, and the moment Qin Heng slaughters Wulong, the Lord of the Misty Holy Land, word spreads across every corner of the Central Plains. The notification sounds echoing in Qin Heng's mind instantly surge past 100,000, proving his unmatched capability to single-handedly take down multiple Holy Land lords. Wiping out a monster this quickly is an unprecedented miracle on this vast land, cementing a glorious legend for ages to come. But this is only the beginning. An unprecedented bloodbath explodes across the Central Plains. Boom, 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 boom. Following Wulong's death, the remaining Holy Land leaders resort to desperate measures. Qin Heng is simply too ruthless, offering zero room for negotiation. These ancient monsters, having lived for thousands of years, realize that unless they fight back and prove troublesome, negotiation is entirely off the table. After all, why waste effort when Qin Heng could easily wipe them all out? Yet, Qin Heng skillfully applies various moral principles to dismantle them piece by piece. As a new storm brews over the horizon, facing terrifying pressure, Qin Heng remains unfazed. He unleashes a torrent of deadly black seawater to engulf incoming attacks, while a faint white light effortlessly purifies and dissolves a surging toxic dragon. At this moment, the Dao techniques of the demon lords within the demon sealing tower are pushed to their absolute maximum, allowing Qin Heng to counter chaotic supernatural powers with minimal effort. The enemy lords are driven to sheer terror. Panicking, they scream in disbelief, wondering how Qin Heng could possibly master so many Daos. Is he even human? He's a monster. Before long, the second, third, and eventually the sixth Holy Land leaders fall one after another. These aren't ordinary saints, they are powerful figures gathered at the forbidden grounds of the Fire Holy Dynasty to plan the annihilation of the Demon Suppression Sect. Yet, they are being slaughtered like chickens and dogs. This horrifying spectacle sends shockwaves across the entire Central Plains, making even heavyweights like Wu Song shudder in disbelief at Qin Heng's unimaginable might. Realizing that joining forces is useless, and that Qin Heng's momentum hasn't waned in the slightest, the remaining leaders panic and turn to flee. They desperately trigger speed-boosting techniques and burn esoteric energy to maximize their escape. However, Qin Heng simply stretches out his arms. White energy pours unceremoniously from his sleeves, instantly outpacing the fleeing leaders. The energy forms interconnected white imprisonment pillars, creating an overwhelming crushing force. Trapped and desperate, the Holy Land leaders snap under the pressure. The Blue Sea Holy Lord makes a drastic move. He directly disintegrates his physical body, hurling his consciousness through the endless void into a true fragment of his soul that he separated in the deep sea years ago. The price is severe, his cultivation plummets from the 4th level to the 1st level of the Saint Realm, but survival is everything. Meanwhile, Su Ruoyan plays his final card. Thick, snow-white wings rapidly sprout from his back, covered in overlapping feathers. He burns all his strength in a single burst, trying to vanish mysteriously into the void, only to slam hard straight into the barrier of the White Pillar prison, his expression turning grave as he is trapped once again. Despite utilizing the essence of spatial Dao, the escape attempt fails miserably, as Qin Heng's seal locks him firmly in place with zero chance of escape. Panic sets in. The remaining Holy Lords frantically deploy various techniques and hammer away at the white imprisonment pillars with brute force. It is useless. Different paths serve different purposes. Some are built for escape while others deliver relentless attacks. In the end, only 3 Holy Land leaders manage to punch their way out of the white prison before Qin Heng makes his next move. Prison landscape, angsty, isn't it? Qin Heng's clear voice echoes from behind. A chaotic, pitch-black sphere rapidly condenses in his right hand, radiating terrifying energy. A devastating black beam shoots out, swallowing the remaining Holy Land leaders and seemingly plunging everything around them into absolute oblivion. A minute later, a symphony of cracking sounds fills the air as the white pillar prison completely shatters into pieces. Not a single Holy Land leader remains nearby. Aside from the trio who escaped at a devastating heavy cost, everyone else is dead. A torrential rain pours across the land, leaving the aftermath charged with swirling, chaotic dust particles. Just like that, the power structure of the Central Plains is completely upended. With over 90% of the top forces having joined the Anti-Demon Alliance, their catastrophic gamble paves the way for the total rise of the Demon Suppression sect. Even the mysterious demon lords are left completely awestruck. Seeing the terrifying combat power displayed by Qin Heng, they realize this is their golden opportunity to seize a massive share of resources from the Central Plains. After all, why let the ancient Holy Lands dominate when they can be swept aside? Had an apex martial arts master been present during the massacre, they might have seized the falling essence of the slain Holy Lords from the reign to break through to the martial saint realm. But the sheer aftermath of the battle left not a single living soul within 1,000 miles except for Qin Heng. This earth-shattering miracle, complete with 7 colored visions condensing over the giant sacrificial path, spreads rapidly to every corner of the central mainland. Meanwhile, Qin Heng's demonic point total surges past 1 million, and this is only the beginning. With a mental command, Qin Heng orders a full-scale assault. In a rare and breathtaking sight, countless terrifying demon lords instantly transform into streaks of light shooting across the sky. Heading north, straight for the strategic strongholds of the various Holy Lands, they strike with overwhelming force, ready to claim absolute dominion over the entire continent. As for the 3 Holy Land leaders who managed to escape, Qin Heng isn't worried in the slightest. Having released the Black Mist, Karma Demon King, and mastered the Tao of Karma, tracking them down is effortless. The exact locations of the 3 fugitives are completely within his grasp. With a gentle flick of his right hand, tracing invisible threads with his fingertips, he locks onto their exact position. All right, I'll deal with you first, old man, Qin Heng thinks, a cold flash of murder in his eyes. Half a month later, in the endless southern ocean of the Central Plains, the weather is pristine and the sea sparkles beneath a bright sun. But the peaceful scene is instantly shattered when a violent wave of blue energy tears through a flock of playing seagulls. Trapped inside that energy is Qi Yuanmo, the once mighty lord of the Blue Sea Holy Land. Panic distorts his face as he runs for his life. A crushing sense of mortal dread grips his heart. Just 2 weeks ago, he ruled over millions of territories. Now, he is reduced to a stray dog desperately fleeing a doomed fate. But all his desperate efforts are useless. Suddenly, a deafening explosion erupts ahead, completely shattering Qi Yuanmo's mental defenses. Stepping smoothly out of the void is none other than Qin Heng, the undisputed ruler of the Central Mainland. Trembling violently, Qi Yuanmo begs for his life. You've already conquered the Central Mainland. You don't need to waste time on a nobody like me. The Holy Lands have already submitted to you. My current cultivation poses 0 threat. Just treat me like a fart and let me go. I swear on the mind destruction curse that I will never step foot in the Central Plains again. Over the past 2 weeks, the expansion campaign has run exceptionally smoothly. With the elite fighting forces of the Holy Lands wiped out en masse, the remaining higher-ups stood powerless against the relentless wave of demons. The 10,000 demons Holy Land conquered territory after territory, effectively placing the entire Central Mainland under their control. To survive his relentless pursuit, Qi Yuanmo burned countless secret techniques, paying a devastating price. His cultivation plummeted all the way from the 4th level of the Saint realm down to the 9th level of the Martial Ancestor realm. But survival is all that matters to him now. Qin Heng simply chuckles lightly. Qi Yuanmo is right, he poses no threat to the Demon Suppression sect or the 10,000 demons Holy Land. At the 9th level of the Martial Ancestor realm, even among Qin Heng's current underlings, there are over 100 demons who could easily crush him. The question is, why should he leave a potential enemy alive? Stopping trouble right at the root is always the best policy. Among all the Holy Land leaders we negotiated with at the Fire Holy Dynasty's Forbidden Grounds that day, you are the only one left. It's time to join them, Qin Heng says casually, raising his right palm toward Qi Yuanmo. With a soft hum, an invisible sealing force locks onto the target. The Blue Sea Holy Lord tries to speak, but quickly realizes speech has become an absolute luxury. In the next instant, a bizarre scene unfolds. His body disintegrates piece by piece like spring snow until a gentle sea breeze sweeps through, wiping away every trace of his existence. Eliminating a 9th level martial ancestor is effortless for Qin Heng at this point. Truth be told, this Holy Lord possessed surprising survival instincts. Between managing the political unification of the Central Plains, Qin Heng had initially only sent a few demon lords to hunt him down, but the fugitive repeatedly slipped away. Now, with a brief gap in his busy schedule, Qin Heng has finally decided to finish him personally. Delving into the various Daos allows one to unlock extraordinary supernatural abilities and profound esoteric techniques, and though he only grasps a fraction of each, it is more than enough. Rest in peace. With that loose end tied up, the situation shifts dramatically. The entire Central Plains now belongs to the demonic gate, and Qin Heng's accumulated demon points skyrocket past the 2 million mark within half a month. The influx of points dwarfs all previous totals combined, completely matching their total dominance over the region. Sensing he is on the verge of breaking through past the 9th level of the Martial Saint realm into an unprecedented realm, Qin Heng decides to unleash even more demon lords. With his current strength, the supernatural abilities he wields are practically indistinguishable from those of a god. The thrill of absolute power is intoxicating, a stark contrast to his powerless past life. With a single thought, Qin Heng teleports back to the Demon Ceiling Tower mausoleum in the back mountain. 6 months later, the entire central mainland is fully under the rule of the 10,000 demons' holy land. Humans and demons coexist harmoniously. Thanks to the mighty demon lords, the living standards of ordinary citizens have multiplied, while the demon lords themselves receive generous rewards and gifts from Qin Heng, steadily boosting their collective strength. The central mainland undergoes a complete, prosperous transformation. The biggest winner of all is the Demon Suppression Sect. As its supreme ruler, Qin Heng reaps astronomical benefits, creating a virtuous cycle where their prestige soars and their demon point reserves allow them to continuously release even more terrifying demon lords into the world. Qin Heng's cultivation leaps forward once more, soaring past the Martial Emperor realm straight to the 3rd level of the Great Emperor realm. With power like this, if he could turn back time, he wouldn't even need to display Taoist techniques against the Fire Holy Dynasty's anti-demon alliance. He could simply use karma to curse and eradicate them all from an infinite distance. Today, the heart of the 10,000 demons' holy city is bustling. Standing atop the central altar of the Heaven of Love, Qin Heng calmly looks down at thousands of tiered steps as matchless demon lords take human form and bow respectfully to the elite clans of the Holy Lands. Flanking him are Lu Jun and Lu Shui. Looking around, Qin Heng makes a shocking announcement. Today, I abdicate and pass the leadership of the Holy Land to Lu Jun. From now on, Lu Shu's commands carry the same weight as mine. You must obey. Having officially transferred the position of Holy Lord to his trusted subordinates, Qin Heng ensures the Central Mainland's development stays on the right track. Though he abdicates, he retains the supreme title of Supreme Holy Lord, holding absolute authority across the entire 10,000 demons' Holy Land. Whether it's the terrifying demon lords or the elite Holy Land leaders, all remain completely captivated by his unmatched personal charisma and overwhelming strength. Inside the Holy City Palace, Lu Jun and Lu Shui feel a wave of anxiety. Given that their cultivation has only just broken through to the 5th level, they fear they lack the capability to control such a vast domain, even with Qin Heng's intensive guidance and esoteric teachings pushing them to the peak of the martial master tier. What are you worrying about? Do you think anyone there would dare disobey you? Qin Heng reassures them calmly. As the supreme hegemon of the entire continent, his terrifying power sitting comfortably at the 3rd level of the Great Emperor realm easily crushes any potential dissent. Every demon he ever unleashed has added to his own core strength through copied abilities, creating an insurmountable gap. Realizing their worries are unfounded, Lu Shu's emotions finally settle. As long as their master is around, no major crisis can touch them. Right on cue, light footsteps approach. Wu Tong, dressed in white, enters and kneels instantly. Greetings, Supreme Lords. Wu Tong rises without hesitation and delivers a crucial report. The origin of the abnormal fluctuations you asked us to track has been discovered, Supreme Master. Hearing this, Qin Heng's pupils narrow slightly. If his subordinates knew, they would be stunned. What could possibly shock a being as terrifyingly invincible as Qin Heng? The answer lies in the gates of this realm. Operating at the absolute apex, Qin Heng understands that the chaotic space houses multiple protective tier realms. The central mainland serves as the absolute core of the Canyon realm, whereas smaller islands or continents possess much lower max power levels and sparse spiritual energy. Finding the gateway to the Jade Realm Gate is critical. As the undisputed ruler of the Canyon realm, Qin Heng faces a new reality. Having reached a bottleneck in his personal power growth, the only real threats left are other players wielding Jade Rings. Whether it is blocking attacks from other realms or tracking down the gateway, both tasks are critically important. However, the gateway to the Canyon realm was deliberately concealed. Even with Qin Heng's peerless supernatural powers, he could only pinpoint a general direction, forcing his subordinates to search for months. Since we finally have results, how can I not be excited? You all go back to your duties. I'll talk. With Wu Tong, Qin Heng says with a smile, dismissing Lu Jun and Lu Shui as they obediently leave the hall. Once alone, Wu Tong reveals the discovery. My lord, look, this Jade Realm Gate is right here. Waving her hand, a chaotic stream of energy materializes in midair, forming a coordinate map, pointing straight to the southern part of the central mainland, deep within the endless ocean. Far away. Huh? Qin Heng frowns slightly before deciding to check it out himself. Sweeping across the vast ocean, Qin Heng flies through the skies at blistering speed. While the kinetic force of his movement is immense enough to churn colossal waves, his precise energy control restrains all collateral impact, leaving nothing behind except a fleeting streak of light. Arriving at the destination, the area initially looks completely peaceful, just deep blue skies and swimming fish. But as Qin Heng approaches the anomaly, his pupils dilate in extreme astonishment. Not only is the spatial fluctuation unusual, but the jade steel of the demon suppression sect resting in his mind actually begins to hum. How is this possible? What does this Jade Realm Gate have to do with the demon suppression sect? Qin Heng falls into deep contemplation. To have brought so many powerful demon lords into the demon sealing tower, the former leadership of the demon suppression sect must have possessed heaven-defying power. Yet, by the time Qin Heng inherited it, the sect had weakened to the point of barely sustaining its basic array and generating minimal resources. That sudden vulnerability had immediately attracted the greedy eyes of the 8 major forces in Qingfeng County, leading to the tragic destruction of the entire sect. Though Qin Heng bears no blame for the past, the mystery remains. Why had a once mighty demonic sect fallen so drastically? Even the demon lords confirmed that the laws they originally mastered didn't belong to this realm. In other words, the true roots of the demonic gate trace back to an entirely different world. As the gateway to that foreign world remains sealed and heavily tied to the demon suppression sect, Qin Heng suspects a deep, hidden secret. Taking a deep breath, he reaches a critical threshold and waves his hand, disrupting the peaceful space before him. Instantly, a rice grain-sized beam of brilliant light materializes, and the concealed defense gate begins to emerge. Suddenly, Qin Heng frowns and halts his actions. A wave of extreme familiarity washes over him, the residual divine thoughts of a past generation destroyer, the very predecessor who brought the demon sealing tower to the Canyon realm. Judging by the sheer intensity of these thoughts, that destroyer's cultivation must have reached the terrifying 5th level of the 9 heavens. While the illusory central mainland serves its purpose, it pales in comparison to that higher realm. Traveling through time and space via the Tao of Karma previously left Qin Heng deeply weakened with severe internal injuries. Upon entering the Canyon realm, he had to use a terrifying protective barrier just to conceal the spatial fluctuations of the gate. Uncovering this spatial gateway brings crucial pieces of the puzzle together, making the previously chaotic logic in Qin Heng's mind crystal clear. Clearly, the ancient demon suppression sect suffered a catastrophic disaster. Even with his current power at the 3rd level of the Great Emperor realm, finding this secret gate proved exceptionally difficult, proving just how formidable the sect's foundational treasures once were. It finally makes sense why a once mighty demonic sect had fallen into such severe poverty that its successor had to scrape by selling resources collected from the demon sealing tower just to survive. Reflecting on this, Qin Heng reaches out and smooths away the emerging gate. Despite his overwhelming strength surpassing even the ancient members who fled to the Canyon realm, he still cannot recklessly probe this area with his Taoist superpowers. This implies that during the demonic gate's golden era, their strongest members were likely even more powerful than a 3rd-level Great Emperor, yet they were utterly defeated and forced to flee. Rashly opening this Jade Realm gate and alerting potential enemies would spell disaster. True to his strategy, Qin Heng prefers to bide his time, quietly growing into an unshakable overlord before crushing all opposition with absolute power. With the legacy of the demonic gate safe and sound, he chooses discretion over recklessness, keeping his operations safely concealed in the shadows for now. The demonic gate's reputation is at an all-time high, but plateauing means slowing down. Complacency is more dangerous than open conflict. If they wait too long, external enemies might come knocking. Absolutely not. Qin Heng's eyes flash with a cold, determined glint. Ever since his reincarnation and the destruction of his sect, he has vowed to seize absolute initiative in this lifetime. To expand his horizons without breaking his concealment, Qin Heng extends his index finger toward the psychic void before him. With a light tap, an invisible wave floods through him, sending a fraction of his divine sense straight into the Jade Realm gate of that realm. Suddenly, his field of vision explodes outward into a vast, empty expanse. Countless colossal spheres crowd the space, each representing a different realm. Thanks to his mastery over various soul-protecting Taos, Qin Heng withstands the howling, chaotic peaks that would otherwise tear a weaker warrior apart. Surveying the surrounding realms, he notes that some are weaker than the Kangyun realm, while others are roughly on par or slightly stronger. None pose an overwhelming threat. Carefully selecting target realms that exceed the Kangyun realm by at most 1 tier, Qin Heng ensures he can handle any early-stage Great Emperor experts residing there. With his scouting complete, Qin Heng's divine sense returns to the Kangyun realm via the original path. Thanks to the secret artifact left by the previous generation's destroyer, the Kangyun realm remains completely hidden from outsiders. Returning to his physical body above the open sea, Qin Heng forms a definitive plan. Using his secret techniques, he can envelop several demon lords within his divine sense and transport them together into these foreign realms to expand their dominance. With preparations underway, Qin Heng transforms into a streak of black light, speeding back toward the mainland. 3 days later, standing once again over the sparkling waves in his noble black and gold robes, accompanied by a 3-headed demon jar, he prepares to launch the next phase of his conquest. 3 powerful beings step forward: the crimson-furred, blood-clawed Nine-Tails Nightmare, the heavenly blood demon wolf, and the radiant Shadow Fist beast. Having recovered and cultivated since their liberation, the first 2 sit at the 3rd level of the Saint Realm, while the latter reaches the 6th level. Qin Heng selects them to assist his cross-realm conquest, this being the maximum number of demon lords his divine secret technique can currently carry. Sensing the spatial anomalies, the 3-headed demon lord looks on in awe, eager to see what lies beyond and even hoping to return to its original realm. if possible. Recognizing that these ancient demons are well aware of multiple existing realms, Qin Hang notes their calm acceptance. Yet, when he mentions that the ancient demon suppression sect may have been hunted to extinction, shock ripples through them. Such a terrifying powerhouse of a sect, once capturing demons from all corners, reduced to this, all right, Qin Hang interrupts their thoughts with a wave of his hand. I am determined to restore the former glory of the demonic gate. Conquering the Kangyun realm was easy, but other realms are entirely different. Uncharted territories mean unknown local forces and potential cultivators from other worlds, demanding absolute caution. With a sweep of his hand, Qin Hang engulfs the three-headed demon lord and his divine sense in a brilliant beam of light, plunging straight through the Jade Gateway. Bursting into the vast, chaotic void, Qin Hang spots a colossal sphere radiating an aura far more potent than the Kangyun realm. This is the one, Qin Hang decides. A streak of black light shoots forward at breakneck speed. While the surrounding chaotic air currents howl violently, tearing everything apart, Qin Hang's divine barrier keeps everyone completely unscathed. The three-headed demon lord gasps in pure astonishment, marveling at how Qin Hang effortlessly accomplishes such a feat using purely his divine sense. Navigating through the chaotic currents is no small feat. While reaching the Saint Realm grants the ability to withstand the turbulence, traveling across this vast void is exceptionally difficult. Normally, journeying to other realms requires at least the Great Emperor level, and few possess the mastery to directly transport others like Qin Hang does. Carrying the three-headed demon lord, Qin Hang speeds through the chaotic expanse completely unharmed. After roughly 10 days of travel, their target realm comes into view. Without hesitation, Qin Hang and the three demon lords plunge right through. Down on a sprawling grassland, a young shepherd boy with small braids rides leisurely on an old ox, shouting childishly for it to eat more grass. Suddenly, a violent spatial wave erupts 10,000 meters in the air. Qin Hang and his companions plummet like shooting stars against the realms. Heavy gravity, generating a roaring wind that knocks the old ox to the ground and sends the shepherd boy tumbling. Adapting instantly, Qin Hang and the others land softly on the turf. Sensing the spiritual energy of the Jade Ring, Qin Hang notes its striking similarity to the Kangyun realm. As the supreme ruler of the central mainland, he knows that different worlds vary wildly. Some are entirely underwater, others consist of scorching lava, and some focus purely on technology. Landing in a world structurally similar to the Kangyun realm makes it much easier to adapt. Even better, Qin Hang realizes that his descended divine sense possesses the cultivation equivalent of the 9th level of the Saint Realm. Bypassing the formidable barrier between great emperors and lower tiers, dropping straight into the peak of the Saint Realm is a massive win, easily surpassing any local expert. Are you immortals? Terrified voices ring out. 5 sturdy villagers stare in sheer disbelief, having never seen anyone fly, let alone descend directly from the heavens. Sensing the potential threat, the blood demon wolf immediately suggests killing the young shepherd boy to eliminate any witnesses, as their arrival must be kept strictly hidden. However, Qin Hang dismisses the idea. Slaughtering an innocent child over petty paranoia is unnecessary and risks eroding his martial arts resolve. Instead, Qin Hang uses his psychic ability to rewrite the memories of both the boy and the old ox, making them simply turn around and leave peacefully. With no immediate dangers or trap setups detected via his Tao of Karma, Qin Hang decides to treat the expedition as an exploratory trip and heads straight for the nearest human settlement, Gaomen County City in the Black Mountain Kingdom. Walking through the bustling streets, Qin Hang and the three-headed demon lord quickly analyze the locals. A brief psychic scan reveals that the highest cultivation level here is merely at the Great Martial Master stage, comparable to Qin Hang's early days back in Qingfeng County. With their combined might, a single wave of their hands could easily flatten the entire city. What truly surprises Qin Hang and his companions, however, is the unique dynamic between humans and beasts in this world. Unlike the Kangyun realm, humans here openly ride massive golden-maned lions, soar on fire eagles, and carry treasure-hunting beasts on their shoulders, proving this to be a domain where humans completely dominate beasts. Observing the bizarre dynamic where humans effortlessly command powerful beasts, the demon lords find it difficult to accept. In ancient times, beast clans universally crushed and treated humans like primitive prey. Seeing the exact opposite order here feels deeply unnatural. Frustrated, the three-headed demon lord suggests slaughtering their way through and establishing a powerful sect right here. Don't be so naive. Do you think ordinary humans deserve to be slaughtered at will? Qin Hang replies calmly. The three-headed demon lord instantly remembers that Qin Hang is human himself, quickly correcting its stance and expressing absolute loyalty. Qin Hang understands their ingrained prejudice. After all, these demon lords once viewed humans as food. If Qin Hang were to drop dead right now, the 10,000 demons' holy land would instantly tear itself apart in bloody chaos. Right now, absolute strength keeps them in line. Instead of acting rashly, Qin Hang advises patience. Overthrowing a small nation's order is easy enough, with absolute strength, but gathering information first is the wise choice. Suddenly, Qin Hang frowns, turning his gaze toward an extravagant, majestic building. At the end of the street, from that structure, he senses a faint, pleasant surge of spiritual energy radiating outward. Operating at the peak of the Saint Realm, Qin Hang immediately realizes that this tiny Black Mountain kingdom holds more than meets the eye. Intrigued by a pleasant energy signature, Qin Heng strides forward toward a magnificent building, flanked by the three-headed demon lord, acting like a mere servant. Though he exudes an authoritative aura, passing onlookers simply mistake him and his companions for visiting royalty or nobility, completely unaware that no martial arts expert in the entire Taiwu realm could possibly rival these supreme beings. They quickly arrive before a grand structure bearing a mahogany plaque inscribed with 6 large characters. Changfang Auction House. A massive crowd floods the entrance, overwhelming the registration clerk, Xiao Si. Qin Heng narrows his eyes, suspecting the treasure that caught his attention lies right inside. Winning it quietly through an auction would be ideal. As for money, Qin Heng isn't worried in the least. As the absolute ruler of the Kangyun realm, his personal wealth is astronomical. He could easily buy hundreds of auction houses in this tiny backwater just with loose change. Stepping up to the registration desk, Qin Heng is abruptly blocked by Xiao Si, demanding an invitation letter. "I don't have one," Qin Heng replies bluntly. Hearing this, Xiao Si's respectful demeanor instantly shifts. The annual Changfeng Wanlang auction is a monumental event drawing elite martial artists from neighboring provinces, with invitations reserved exclusively for prominent figures in the Black Mountain Kingdom. Lacking an invitation implies low status. Still, maintaining basic politeness to avoid trouble, Xiao Si informs them that without an invitation, they must purchase regular seats. Unfortunately, all private rooms and VIP chambers are completely packed, and only general hall seating remains. Entry requires a substantial fee, paid in mid-grade spiritual stones. One mid-grade spiritual stone is worth 100 low-grade stones, enough to cover an ordinary family's living expenses for a long time. Qin Heng's true body possesses astronomical wealth in the Kangyun realm, but this divine sense projection cannot directly access the main treasury. Fortunately, he still carried a small emergency reserve of spiritual stones, more than enough to pay an entrance fee and handle ordinary expenses in this backwater kingdom. Entering the venue requires paying a heavy entrance fee, but for Qin Heng and his group, money is the least of their concerns. Spotting the ticket collector's hesitation, Qin Heng casually pulls out 4 mid-grade spiritual stones to cover their entry, dismissing the cost without a second thought. As a high-ranking official and manager of the 10,000 Demons Holy Land, who has recently been operating across the Central Plains, paying for admission is effortless, even if they have plenty of low to mid-tier items piling up in their storage from clearing out resistance remnants. The black-robed man looks remarkably composed, effortlessly letting his charming female companion handle the administrative registration. Handed a pass marked with the consecutive number 689692, Qin Heng and his entourage step past the attendant and enter the auction hall. Inside, the interior is stunningly luxurious. The hall features multiple layers of soft, ambient lighting beneath towering ceilings, illuminated by intricate crystal and gold chandeliers that sparkle like a starry night sky. The surrounding walls are crafted from dark wood, meticulously carved with gorgeous landscape patterns, while a massive auction stage covered in black velvet sits at the center, flanked by rows of numbered black seating. Even by the standards of the Black Mountain Kingdom, this level of decoration is top tier. Yet, for the masters of the 10,000 Demons Holy Land, such ostentatious displays are entirely ordinary. Having witnessed countless grand spectacles, their expressions remain completely unchanged. However, the seating arrangements quickly spark frustration. As they attempt to take their seats, a burly, muscle-bound figure with a fierce expression aggressively clears the way through the crowded hall, forcing them forward. Qin Heng quietly takes his designated seat, but his subordinates are furious. The bloodthirsty wolf demon grumbles with intense displeasure, questioning why the sacred lord is forced to sit in such a cramped, crowded public area instead of a private room. The snow wolf echoes the sentiment, complaining that despite being treated with immense respect by humans recently, being relegated to low-tier seating is entirely unacceptable. Before the complaints can escalate, the nightmare nine-tailed fox rolls her eyes, shutting down the bickering and reminding them that since they have only just stepped into this world, they must adapt to it for now. While the demon lords accompanying him grumble about the cramped seating and compare it unfavorably to the dismal environment of the demon ceiling tower, Qin Heng remains entirely unbothered. Having previously lived a life of extreme hardship before stepping down from his demon king status, he views this ordinary seating as a refreshing change of pace and a chance to experience lower-class life. Beside each seat lies a small table with a plate of snacks provided for the entry fee. As Qin Heng casually pops an orange into his mouth and chews, the sweet and sour flavors burst forth, accompanied by a subtle, flower-like aroma. To his demon subordinates, his calm indifference is baffling. They can hardly comprehend why a powerful figure like Qin Heng refuses to get angry at being treated like common folk by such insignificant humans. Yet, Qin Heng simply ignores their petty grievances, choosing to enjoy the exotic snacks while awaiting the main event. Before long, a friendly, bushy-browed local patron strikes up a conversation with Qin Heng, eagerly boasting about the prestige of the Changfeng Wanlang auction. The man brags about the scale of the annual event and the elite VIPs in attendance, completely unaware that he is casually chatting with a true powerhouse. Qin Heng merely responds with an indifferent smile, unfazed by the stranger's shallow boasting or the extravagant displays of wealth around him. After roughly half an hour, the bustling hall fills to capacity. Beams of light suddenly erupt across the auction stage, Cutting through the chatter as a charming and attractive female auctioneer steps forward to officially open the Changfeng Wanlang auction. The excitement peaks instantly. Accompanied by loud footsteps echoing from behind the curtains, a figure in white walks onto the stage, carrying an open wooden box containing the first major treasure of the night. The auction kicks off with its first item resting on a golden cloth, the glowing, jade-green azure heaven resurrection pill, crafted by master alchemist Chen Chengmu. Renowned for its ability to save lives in critical moments, especially for peak martial arts experts, the pill immediately sparks a bidding frenzy. Prices quickly escalate through the digital energy screens connected to the bidder's passes, moving from an opening bid of 30 mid-grade spiritual stones up to 35, 38, and beyond. For Qin Heng, however, the pill is useless. Designed only for peak martial artists and those at the martial king level, it holds no appeal for someone of his standing. He remains indifferent, quietly waiting for a truly rare treasure to catch his interest, sensing that the item he actually wants is positioned further down the line. Seeing Qin Heng's lack of interest, the bushy-browed man nearby tries to strike up a conversation, curiously asking why he ignores such an essential recovery item, which is normally vital for martial artists facing frequent combat injuries. Before Qin Heng can respond, the nightmare nine-tailed fox jumps in, dismissing the pill as worthless trash unfit for her master's attention. The blunt insult stuns the bushy-browed man. Offended and confused by their arrogance, he quickly loses his initial friendly impression of the young man. Convinced that Qin Heng is just putting on a flashy act with his companions, the local patron crosses his arms, deciding to wait and see if this arrogant group can actually afford any of the high-tier treasures later in the auction, especially the legendary rhinoceros spirit sword. The blood wolf demon, hot-tempered with visible veins pulsing on his forehead, glares at the arrogant man with thick eyebrows who just mocked him. In his mind, that man has already been marked for death as soon as the auction ends. Even a former demon, Lord, who once slaughtered humans, now finds himself subservient to Emperor Qin Heng, whispering plans to assassinate the target quietly. But Qin Heng just sits calmly, ignoring the taunts as the bidding for miscellaneous mid-level snacks speeds past item 135. On stage, auctioneer Yu Rong keeps the pace brisk, cleanly moving from item to item without unnecessary emotional outbursts to avoid audience friction. The auction floor is a whirlwind of activity. Clothes, divine elixirs, magical treasures, and cultivation techniques are flying off the block one after another. VIPs and private rooms alike join the fray, but Qin Heng remains entirely unmoved, ignoring the matchmaker's attempts to interest him. The thick-browed man sneers from afar, dismissing Qin Heng as a broke loser whose companion looks fancy but whose life is clearly ruined by women and alcohol. Then, the 135th item takes center stage, the Crimson Square Cauldron, a lower-grade Tier 5 fire artifact capable of both attack and binding. Starting at 800 mid-level snacks with 50 snack increments, this Tier 5 weapon instantly spikes the room's energy, offering genuine power suitable for a martial king master. The sudden escalation from standard goods to a high-tier artifact is a classic auction tactic designed to shock buyers and drive prices sky-high. As the Crimson Square Cauldron is presented to the crowd, Qin Heng's expression shifts slightly, the first sign of genuine comfort and interest touching his soul. Sensing the supreme value hidden within the Crimson Square Cauldron, a treasure far surpassing anyone at the saint level, Qin Heng immediately makes his move. Without hesitation, he opens the bidding at a staggering 1,200 mid-level snacks, instantly choking the thick-browed man nearby who couldn't even dream of affording such a sum. Even the three powerful demon lords beside Qin Heng failed to detect anything special about the artifact, reinforcing just how exclusive and high-tier his judgment truly is. However, the competition explodes across the auction hall as other heavy hitters jump into the fray. Bidder number 690 pushes the price to 1,800 mid-level snacks in a bold move, backed by stunning looks and overwhelming financial aggression. The auctioneer initially suspects this massive leap is just a bluff from someone desperate to scare away rivals, yet the price happens to land right around the artifact's true market value. Just as it seems, bidder 690 has secured the victory, a notification flashes across the energy screen that sends shockwaves through the entire room. Bidder number 1 enters the race, raising the stakes to a massive 2,000 mid-level snacks. This mysterious top-tier challenger clearly holds immense influence and power within the Black Mountain Kingdom, proving that the true battle for the ultimate treasure has only just begun. The auctioneer from the 690th bidding unit is completely out of the running, or so everyone thinks, eyeing the luxurious VIP box on the second floor. Inside box number 1, Han Shaoli, a pale and sickly young master, dressed in ragged clothes, lounges lazily while two scantily clad maidservants massage his back and legs. Before him, the dazzling screen of the auction hall glows brightly, though it only irritates his frail eyes. The luxury of this private room stands in sharp contrast to the common crowd. Lounging on his crimson leather chair, Han Shaoli turns to an elderly man standing nearby, Shang Sanhe, a newly breakthrough martial king. With a generous wave, Han Shaoli promises that if he wins the Crimson Square Cauldron, it will go to Shang Sanhe, along with 2,000 mid-grade spiritual stones and 20 high-grade spiritual stones, a fortune large enough to secure the newly advanced martial king's loyalty. This staggering bounty isn't charity. It is a calculated move, orchestrated by his father, Han Bu, the Grand General of the Black Mountain Kingdom. Although Han Xiaoli has a reputation for indulging in wine and women, a flaw that deeply displeases his father, he possesses high martial talent and sharp administrative skills. To secure absolute loyalty, the general stages this grand reward, ensuring Xiang Sanhe vows to protect Han Xiaoli with his life no matter what. For Han Xiaoli, trading 2,000 mid-grade spiritual stones is a high price, but securing a devoted martial king bodyguard is an absolute bargain. Just as everything seems settled, a sudden shock disrupts the room. Bidder number 690 suddenly raises the stakes, offering 2,500 mid-grade spiritual stones. Han Xiaoli springs up in disbelief. The market value for this Crimson Square cauldron sits safely around 1,800 mid-grade spiritual stones. Anyone with common sense wouldn't overpay for luxury items, especially when competing against powerful VIPs. Yet, this mysterious rival didn't just match the price, they aggressively drove it up by 500 snacks straight out of the gate. Furious at being openly challenged, Han Xiaoli's eyes turn cold. That brat is looking for a death wish, he snaps, instantly punching in a counterbid of 2,800 mid-grade spiritual stones. Xiang Sanhe tries to intervene, advising that the price far exceeds the item's true worth and isn't worth the trouble. But Han Xiaoli waves him off with a confident smirk. A gift is a gift, and when a young master of the Han family is challenged, backing down is never an option. Unwilling to lose face or back down, Han Xiaoli refuses to let the matter go, driving the bid up to 2,800 mid-grade spiritual stones. Inside the auction hall, the crowd buzzes with excitement as the massive price tag shatters normal market values for the Crimson Square cauldron. All eyes suddenly shift to Qin Hang and his mysterious group, wondering who dares provoke the powerful VIPs in the upper boxes. While the spectators whisper about impending bloodshed and revenge outside the auction house doors, Qin Hang remains entirely unfazed. Annoyed by the tedious pacing of the bidding war, Qin Hang casually gives a simple command to the nightmare nine-tailed fox sitting beside him: just bid 10,000 mid-grade spiritual stones. Without a moment's hesitation, she inputs the staggering amount directly into the console. 10,000 mid-grade spiritual stones equal 100 high-grade spiritual stones, a devastating fortune that even seasoned martial masters could never dream of scraping together. But for Qin Hang, spending such wealth is nothing more than tossing away pocket change. When the stage's digital display instantly flashes the astronomical number of 10,000 mid-grade spiritual stones, the entire auction hall falls into a dead silence. Stunned, disbelief paralyzes the crowd as everyone gasps at the sheer display of insane wealth. On stage, the female auctioneer swallows hard, her voice trembling with anxiety as she nervously announces the earth-shattering bid made by VIP customer number 690. Inside the VIP box, Han Xiaoli's expression turns ice-cold with fury. While he possesses over 10,000 mid-grade spiritual stones, that fortune is reserved for the final grand items of the auction. Squandering it all now on a minor treasure threatens to ruin his ultimate plans. Advised by Xiang Sanhe that the price is no longer worth it, Han Xiaoli grits his teeth, but decides to challenge the bidder's financial legitimacy instead. Suspecting the bidder is merely bluffing to disrupt the auction, Han Xiaoli pressures the Changfeng auction house to investigate. Prompted by the complaint, the female auctioneer politely pauses the event and announces an asset verification check for VIP customer number 690. This unexpected interruption instantly triggers the demonic blood wolf, who leaps up in rage and unleashes a terrifying, blood-soaked aura accumulated from countless slaughters. The suffocating pressure chills everyone in the hall to the bone, paralyzing the auditing staff in sheer terror. Enough, let them check, Qin Hang commands coldly. The demonic blood wolf reluctantly sits back down. Stepping forward to handle the inspection, an official in purple robes approaches the 690th seat. Without a word of hesitation, the nightmare nine-tailed fox casually tosses over an unlocked storage artifact. The official catches it, sweeps his divine sense inside, and drops his jaw in utter shock. Piled mountain high within the storage space are tens of thousands of high-grade spiritual stones worth a staggering 1 million mid-grade spiritual stones. The sheer astronomical wealth leaves the entire auction house speechless. Realizing the sheer financial disparity, the staff immediately return the storage item with profuse apologies, and the hall breaks out into buzzing astonishment over the mysterious, filthy rich newcomer. Unwilling to continue a losing battle, Han Xiaoli completely backs down, leaving the Crimson Square cauldron to be officially awarded to VIP customer number 690 for 10,000 mid-grade spiritual stones. Inside his private box, Han Xiaoli flies into a rage, kicking over a small table and terrifying his maidservants as he curses the mysterious buyer for wasting a fortune on a useless artifact. But upon calming down and realizing his rival blew 10,000 mid-grade spiritual stones on a single item, Han Xiaoli's mood lightens, convinced that the eccentric buyer has crippled his own financial resources. Meanwhile, Qin Hang easily completes the transaction, holding the Crimson Square cauldron in his hand. Even with the divine consciousness of a martial emperor, Qin Hang senses a powerful divine soul sealed within the artifact, something potent enough to significantly enhance his own spiritual awareness once consumed. Deciding to save it for later, Qin Heng spends the rest of the auction enjoying the brisk pace as the Changfeng auction house rolls through over 200 items in just 2 hours. Soon, the atmosphere shifts as the auction reaches its next major highlight. The auctioneer claps her hands, and several attendants carry out a massive cage covered in dark wood. The mysterious new item instantly captures the entire hall's attention, though the nightmare nine-tailed fox narrows her eyes and curses under her breath. At the prestigious Feng Feng auction house, an unexpected item captures the entire audience's attention. As a black curtain is dramatically pulled back, an iron cage is revealed containing a young female from the ancient Fox clan, currently bound and marked by the cruel scars of torture. The bloodline of this Fox clan maiden carries rare, ancient traits, a relic of historical unions between humans and spirits. Though her species holds little practical value for traditional martial arts cultivation, her natural allure makes her a prized collector's item among the elite. Sensing a familiar, tragic kindred spirit, Nightmare Evil Nine-Tailed Fox is overcome with anger at the sight of the battered young fox girl. Turning to Qin Heng, the ruler accompanying him, Nightmare requests to purchase the captive creature. Qin Heng readily agrees, dismissing the cost with a casual attitude toward acquiring the pitiful young captive. The auctioneer steps up to present the lot, designated as item number 287. Given the rarity of the Fox clan's natural charm, the bidding opens at an exorbitant 10 high-grade spiritual stones, with each increment requiring at least another high-grade snack, surpassing even the value of prior 5th-grade magical weapons, and requiring currency and high-grade spiritual stones to signify its immense worth. Bids quickly pour in from various private VIP rooms. High-ranking participants recognize that purchasing a Fox clan captive serves no combat purpose, acting purely as a luxury acquisition for power and status. Inside VIP room No. 1, Han Xiaoli stares hungrily at the screen, displaying the captive fox girl, his ambitions extending straight toward utilizing the Fox clan's natural charm for her dual cultivation, wicked arts. By draining vital essence through these methods, she intends to drastically boost her own martial power. With fierce determination burning in her eyes, he resolves to secure the prize at any cost, muttering to himself that this acquisition will guarantee ultimate success. Inside VIP room No. 1, Han Xiaoli leans heavily on the backing of his powerful lineage, with his father Han Bu reigning as an unmatched martial arts master in the Black Mountain Kingdom and holding a status surpassing even the Emperor. He expects everyone to back down from her demands. However, the bidding monitor shatters his confidence instantly. Guest number 690 raises the bid to 30 high-grade spiritual stones. Enraged by the open defiance, Han Xiaoli slams her fist down and shatters the table. Convinced that the mysterious black-robed buyer is deliberately targeting her, he escalates the contest. The price skyrockets through a furious series of counterbids, jumping from 50 to 60, then 80, and quickly climbing to 120 high-grade spiritual stones. Furious and realizing he is being pushed to his limit, Han Xiaoli storms out of his private room and steps onto the balcony. His sudden appearance startles the entire auction hall, with onlookers whispering in shock as they recognize General Han's son. Though blatant intimidation violates the unspoken rules of the Changfeng auction house, the terrified auctioneer dares not intervene against the Supreme Commander's daughter. Leaning over the rail, Han Xiaoli throws out a final, threatening ultimatum, locking the price at an exorbitant 180 high-grade spiritual stones and warning the buyer to back off or face dire consequences. The heavy threat leaves the audience holding their breath, but it completely fails to intimidate the Nightmare Evil Nine-Tailed Fox. Unfazed by his threats and quietly contemptuous of her arrogance, the mysterious buyer immediately enters a counterbid. The main stage lights flash, and the shocked auctioneer announces the update to the stunned crowd. Guest number 690 has raised the bid to 181 high-grade spiritual stones, completely ignoring the general's warning and seizing the upper hand once again. Furious over being outbid, Han Xiaoli retreats into his private room, slamming the door shut while vowing that the mysterious black-robed buyer has signed his own death warrant by defying the general's son. Meanwhile, inside the main auction hall, an attendant grabs the fabric of the caged fox girl's collar and leads her directly toward Qin Heng's seating area. The Nightmare Evil Nine-Tailed Fox follows closely behind, radiating an overwhelming wave of crushing pressure that causes the surrounding environment to crackle and splinter under the force. As the auction continues around them, the terrified young fox girl senses an inexplicable, deep connection with the female entity before her. Stepping forward, she learns her new companion shares her heritage. When asked for her name, the young captive whispers that she is called Xiao Qing. "Sit on my lap, Xiao Qing. No one will bully you ever again," the nine-tailed fox says gently. Overcoming her lifelong distrust of humans, Xiao Qing settles into her lap with complete trust. With a wave of a hand, a soft pink glow sweeps over the young girl, instantly healing all her raw wounds and scars. Although surrounding spectators watch the display with shock and disgust, amazed that anyone would openly side with a discriminated half-blood creature carrying monstrous heritage and risk the wrath of General Han's family, no one dares to interfere. The auction soon concludes after the rhinoceros spirit divine sword is sold off to the occupant of box 3. Qin Heng and his group exit the venue alongside the crowd. Outside, Xiaoqing finally gathers the courage to ask why her new protectors treat her with such kindness. Because we are also foxes, little sister, the nine-tailed fox replies with a smile, before introducing her to Qin Heng. Just as the introductions finish, a hostile presence approaches. Qin Heng turns his gaze forward to find Han Xiaoli and Xiang Sanhe marching straight toward them with murder in their eyes, ready to settle the score. Holding the Crimson Square Cauldron won from the Changfeng auction house, Qin Heng examines the artifact, wondering how such a remote and poor location produced an item capable of attracting his interest. Channeling his spiritual energy into the artifact, he senses a massive surge of power and deduces that only someone at the Saint Realm or higher could break its ancient seals. With a series of sharp cracks, the energy shatters the seals, releasing a wave of pure spiritual power from within the Crimson Square Cauldron. A hazy, mystical mist gathers and condenses into the figure of a silver-haired old man wielding an imposing, commanding presence. I, Puni, have finally awakened. Young man, was it you who woke me from my deep slumber? Puni asks, looking down at Qin Heng with a benevolent smile. Unimpressed and entirely unfazed, Qin Heng quickly assesses the entity. He recognizes the classic trope of a hidden senior master sealed inside a magical artifact, someone whose past power likely reached the martial saint level, a terrifying force in this region that could drastically boost anyone's cultivation. Yet, Puni fails to see through Qin Heng's hidden true cultivation level, completely unaware that he is standing before the master of another jade ring. Annoyed by the young man's lack of formal respect, Puni decides to teach him a lesson and unleash his divine aura. Puni channels his spiritual might, releasing a crushing wave of pressure intended to engulf all 5 people in front of him. To Puni's utter astonishment, the 5 individuals stand completely unaffected, remaining as unmovable and solid as mountains against his pressure. Convinced that his long slumber must have distorted his memory and left flaws in his self-created Nine Heavens reversal technique, Puni hastily rationalizes the failure to himself, entirely unaware of the true power disparity he is facing. With Qin Heng holding a terrifying cultivation level at the 9th tier of the Saint Realm and his companions, the Nightmare Evil, Nine-Tailed Fox, and Heaven Demon Blood Werewolf, vastly outclassing ordinary experts even in their partial spiritual forms, Puni's divine pressure bounces off them completely. Realizing that 12,000 years have passed and his legendary name has long been forgotten in this sparse spiritual region, Puni quickly changes tactics. Feigning benevolence, Puni dangles the ultimate temptation, offering immense wealth, supreme power, and the ability to rule over both humans and demons with a single word. With a wave of his hand, red threads materialize from his palm and condense into a manual titled Puni's Divine Path, instructing the group to absorb the technique directly into their consciousness to achieve rapid breakthroughs. Qin Heng readily complies, using his divine sense to absorb the technique. A moment later, a strange smile crosses his face as he instantly sees through the old man's scheme. Puni boasts of his past as a supreme martial saint, who commanded the Taiwu world, explaining that he left behind this secret technique on his deathbed to allow his soul to be preserved and reincarnated. However, Qin Heng instantly recognizes the fatal flaws and hidden dangers woven into the method. Anyone who practices this technique will eventually be turned into a puppet, serving merely as a vessel for Puni to possess and steal a new body. Unmasking the cunning plot in his mind, Qin Heng realizes that if he hadn't intervened, this artifact would have ended up destroyed by Han Xiaoli or handed over to Xiang Sanhe, sealing a grim fate for anyone unlucky enough to fall for the trap. Infuriated by Qin Heng's defiance and refusal to fall into his trap, Puni decides to eliminate him. Unveiling his fangs, the ancient entity unleashes a terrifying surge of spiritual energy directly at Qin Heng. The attack crashes against Qin Heng like a stone sinking into a bottomless ocean, failing to produce even a single ripple. The Heaven Demon Blood Werewolf scoffs at the foolish attempt, mocking Puni for daring to attack Qin Heng when even at his peak, killing him would have been effortless. Realizing he has kicked a massive wall and is facing a being whose true strength far exceeds his comprehension, Puni immediately abandons his hostility. Bowing respectfully, he quickly changes his tune, claiming he mistook Qin Heng for a novice and offering to share a vast store of martial resources, hidden in the Lian mansion in exchange for an alliance. Unfazed by the bribe, Qin Heng dryly notes that even if he destroys Puni's soul, he can easily extract the location of the treasures anyway. Opening his mouth wide, Qin Heng unleashes a massive vortex of devouring energy. Despite Puni's panic and repeated attempts to resist by unleashing his entire spiritual power, the gravitational pull proves inescapable. In a matter of moments, the ancient entity who had slumbered for over 10,000 years is completely swallowed up and consumed. Witnessing Qin Heng swallow Puni's soul leaves Xiaoqing horrified, while his demon lord companions simply exchange amused smiles at their master's unusual methods. Of course, Qin Heng has no morbid appetite. Consuming Puni's soul serves a much greater practical purpose, because Puni's spirit had been refined and preserved inside the artifact like a treasure. Absorbing it greatly strengthens Qin Heng's projected body and divine sense. His cultivation rapidly climbs to the peak of its current limit, leaving him only a step away from recovering martial emperor-level power in this realm. More importantly, through his devouring Tao, Qin Heng seamlessly extracts all of Puni's ancient memories, gaining invaluable knowledge about the hidden jade rings and the true geopolitical landscape of the Taiwu world. Unlike the human-dominated Kangyun realm where demons are enslaved, or the Black Mountain Kingdom, where humans rule supreme, the Taiwu world is a volatile realm where humans and demons coexist in a perpetual state of brutal warfare. Territories are fiercely contested, with each side treating the other as inferior based on bloodline purity and raw power. Reflecting on this information and connecting it to the rise of the demon suppression sect from ancient times, Qin Heng realizes that the balance of power across the realms has undergone a massive, irreversible transformation. When Qin Heng reviews his collected clues, confusion mounts. Although the ancient demon suppression sect once imprisoned powerful demon lords, when humanity was weaker without causing subsequent human ruin, the question remains, why did they wear masks? Even so, fleeing to the Kangyun realm seems illogical. Startled by the confused frown of the nine-tailed beast asking if he is unwell, Qin Heng shakes off the stray thoughts. Right now, maximizing his own combat strength is the absolute priority. Comprehending history cannot change reality, and the near eradication of the once glorious demon suppression sect hints at a looming, massive crisis. Accumulating combat power to face future danger, protect his disciples, and avoid repeating past tragedies is all that matters. With his priorities locked in, Qin Heng briefs his three demon lords on the current state of the Taiwu realm. The trio instantly grasps the situation, realizing that the demon race still retains fighting strength despite the human dominance. However, the exact fate of the demon suppression sect's ancient artifact remains a mystery. Meanwhile, Xiao Qing, a lifelong slave, accustomed to being treated as mere merchandise, listens attentively. Possessing far less local knowledge of the Taiwu realm than Qin Heng has managed to uncover in less than a day. Fortunately, the memories Qin Heng extracted from Puni fill most of those gaps. Moving fast to secure a foundation, Qin Heng issues his next command: bring the entire Black Mountain Kingdom over and establish their own base. Utilizing a specialized method to usurp local control and territory, they quickly set up an organization mirroring the Kangyun realm. Within a month, the plan bears fruit. Seated in the main hall of the Black Mountain Kingdom capital, Qin Heng listens to reports from various demon messengers. The entire Black Mountain Kingdom is now completely under his control. The former royal family and the renowned General Han Bu are things of the past, as Qin Heng brings the region under the banner of the 10,000 Demons' Holy Land. By breaking through the Hollow Heart technique, eliminating obstacles, and leveraging sheer power, gathering forces has proven remarkably straightforward. Managing the Black Mountain Kingdom is merely a small test, reflected by the steady increase of demon points in his mind under the 10,000 Demons' Holy Land title. Using the sacred land's name outwardly while directing demon generals to do the work accelerates conquest without exposing Qin Heng to premature risks. For now, this indirect approach works best, keeping his true identity shielded while maintaining total dominion. After 10 minutes of continuous briefings, the demon camp guards finally finish delivering their reports. Qin Heng absorbs the flood of information with a single, decisive conclusion. Alright, I understand. Governing the Taiwu realm proves far more challenging than ruling the Kangyun realm. As a human ruler whose elite subordinates are primarily demonic beasts, Qin Heng faces an inherent structural conflict. Centuries of deep-seated hostility between humans and demons mean they remain sworn enemies, leaving the Black Mountain Kingdom's inhabitants struggling to coexist and forcing the Blood Demon Heavenly Wolf to constantly suppress endless waves of rebellious factions. However, these troubles are trivial in the face of absolute power. Using the Tao of causality, Qin Heng confirms there is no absolute hostility toward the demonic sect, setting a 2-month timeline to conquer and completely transform the entire Taiwu realm. With the overarching strategy locked in, the focus shifts to internal growth. During a meeting, the reporting session transforms into a profound discussion on the Tao. Qin Heng extracts insights and comprehension from his freed demon lords, combining their ancient wisdom with his own level 3 martial emperor realm to build a magnificent underground mausoleum. He dedicates substantial effort to personally guiding the 3 elite demon lords from the Taiwu realm, ensuring they are fully prepared to serve as pillars for his upcoming unification plans. Meanwhile, one of the demon leopard subordinates reports a minor bottleneck in mastering the shadow clone technique, smoothly integrating cultivation updates with tactical discussions. While the foundation solidifies locally, Qin Heng's avatar expands his sphere of influence across the Taiwu realm. In the central continent's Qingyu Tianyun City, the monthly tribunal is underway, presided over directly by Qin Heng himself. High-ranking officials and powerful figures under the 10,000 demons Holy Land who abused their authority and exploited the populace are finally brought to justice. Perched thousands of feet in the air, the judgment arena floats on a magnificent isolated island insulated from worldly noise. Crafted from millennium-old ice and mystic fire, the platform is embedded with strange runes flashing in eerie blue and crimson light. Amidst swirling clouds and brilliant golden beams piercing the sky as if resetting heaven's order itself, Qin Heng sits upon a throne of pure gold, his cold gaze sweeping across the trembling figures below to deliver absolute judgment. Bound tightly in the center of the arena, corrupt officials and criminals weep and beg for mercy. A noble woman cries out that they will never dare do it again, blaming their actions on a momentary lapse of greed. but apologies change nothing. Knowing the terrifying and bizarre methods of the demonic Tao, where punishment far exceeds the tortures of the soul-refining palace, none dare curse Qin Heng. Instead, their desperate pleas echo across the central continent, serving as a public warning that solidifies the absolute authority of the demon suppression sect. In exchange for a quick, painless death, their public repentance brings Qin Heng an endless stream of demon points. As a bell chimes, the trial officially begins. Qin Shing, Qin Heng's brother, steps onto the judgment platform wearing a golden robe and a 9-phoenix crown to preside over the proceedings. The crimes are laid bare one by one, including the case of the criminal Hu Dahan, who embezzled 10,000 superior spiritual stones meant for town disaster relief. Terrified, the parasites plaguing the 10,000 demons' holy land turn pale as every charge is read aloud. At Qin Shing's command, executioners swing their blades down in brutal arcs, sending massive heads rolling to the ground. With every execution, Qin Heng's mind rings with continuous system notifications. Demon points surge rapidly by increments of 5 and 7 as he exploits the central continent's potential at breakneck speed. Maintaining roughly 10 powerful magic entities at once, his progress in unlocking ultimate demon-suppressing capabilities skyrockets. Simultaneously, through continuous breakthroughs in his cultivation and insights into the Tao, Qin Heng hits a critical tipping point. A violent wave of energy erupts from his body, swirling with multicolored clouds and 10,000 rays of light that transform the trial island into a surreal immortal realm. The energies converge into a massive pillar of light that shoots straight into the heavens, tearing the clouds apart as if trying to shatter the world's barrier. Above, the peaceful skies instantly twist into violent thunderstorms, gathering dark clouds and dancing purple lightning dragons that roar with deafening fury. The spectacle stuns everyone present. It is the breathtaking sign of Qin Heng breaking through to a terrifying new level in his martial arts, a feat that leaves normal cultivators in other sacred realms struggling for hundreds or even thousands of years just to advance a single step. With a sharp flash in his eyes, Qin Heng opens them after 3 intense minutes, having successfully broken through to the 4th level of the Martial Emperor realm. This breakthrough synchronizes his physical body in the Kangyun realm and his spiritual consciousness in the Taiwu realm, shattering conventional system limits. Knowing from Puny's memories that the Martial Emperor level represents the absolute peak of combat strength from 12 millennia ago, Qin Heng realizes he has nothing to fear from any local hidden factions or lethal secret techniques in this realm. Shortly after, Qin Shing leaps through the air to congratulate him, though he quickly sighs over his own slower progress despite abundant resources, feeling inadequate compared to the terrifying standards set by ancient demon lords. Qin Heng reassures him, noting that their current levels already place them among the elite. 2 months pass in the blink of an eye. Floating high above the highest peak of the Black Mountain Kingdom, Qin Heng surveys the endless mountain ranges alongside his 3 primary demon subordinates. Thanks to 2 months of rigorous cultivation, the Nightmare 9-tailed fox and the blood demon Heavenly Wolf have both broken through to the 5th level of the sacred realm, while the strongest among them, the Sword Fire Demon, has reached the 7th level. Having thoroughly investigated and mapped out the entire Taiwu realm during this period, Qin Heng is now fully prepared to execute the next phase of his grand plan. With no dangerous enemies left to pursue the demonic sect and having reached the 5th level in both spiritual and physical realms, Qin Heng sets his sights on complete unification. His next target is the Shichuo Sacred Realm, a powerful demonic faction, controlled by the Elephant Demon, Lion Demon, and Eagle Demon tribes, which guards the vital gateway into the Taiwu realm. Conquering this formidable power will solidify his dominance and clear his path forward. To accelerate his reputation and intimidate local factions, Qin Heng decides to broadcast his upcoming conquest. He waves his hand, sending beams of light shooting into the sky across densely populated regions of the Taiwu realm. Meanwhile, his 3 eager demon lords rub their hands in excitement, thrilled to act as the vanguard and secure their high status under Qin Heng's rule. Leveraging his newly mastered 5th-level spiritual consciousness ability, Qin Heng creates a spatial channel in an instant, bending distance and disappearing into the void alongside his subordinates. Down on the bustling streets of Qiming Kingdom's capital, ordinary citizens are suddenly disrupted as multicolored light gathers in the sky, forming a misty, illusionary projection of rolling mountain ranges. Amidst widespread confusion and awe over such staggering power, the projection shifts to reveal a towering gateway standing between heaven and earth. Above it, 4 grand characters spell out the name of the Shichuo Sacred Realm. The sight instantly shocks the onlookers into stunned disbelief, realizing that someone is daring to challenge the most ferocious and powerful beast faction in their world. While humans and demons stand at a stalemate in the Taiwu realm, with human territories routinely enslaving demons and demon domains treating human lives as worthless grass, a high-level green leopard demon relaxes in the Storm Kingdom capital's Princess Palace, watching human dancers. When a terrified dancer trips on her dress, the demon casually kills her with a flash of thin blue light, proving the brutal reality of their world. That brutal routine is suddenly shattered when a panicked armored soldier bursts into the hall. He reports an incredible projection appearing outside the city, an image of the sacred Shichuo realm itself. Shocked, the young leopard demon races outside and stares at the sky. He wonders why the supreme demon leaders would project their sacred domain, questioning if it's a warning or a sign of divine displeasure. His mental storm deepens as the projection shifts to reveal a black-robed man standing alongside three half-human demon lords. The figures boldly call out, challenging the Shichuo realm's leaders to show themselves. Viewing this from afar, the leopard demon thinks the intruders must have a death wish to provoke the most powerful beast faction in existence. Instantly, dense swarms of demonic entities pour forth from the mountains, filling the sky with chaotic energy and twisted faces. Unlike previous battles at Purple Mountain, the Shichuo Sacred Realm boasts hundreds of thousands of flying demons, with over half capable of flight. The sheer, overwhelming numbers spark furious roars from the Shichuo demon leaders, who are utterly incensed by the audacious newcomer daring to riot on their sacred grounds. Despite the intimidating aura radiating from the blood demon Heavenly Wolf, the demonic entities do not immediately charge. Instead, sensing the terrifying power of a sacred-level blood demon, they choose to wait. Qin Hang remains entirely calm, having no intention of slaughtering these minor entities today. Rather than destroying them, his goal is to establish control over both human and demonic forces, forging a completely different path from his predecessors. Moments later, three formidable figures erupt from the mountains with explosive force. A massive red-furred lion demon with sharp protruding fangs, a towering yellow-tusked elephant demon resembling a moving mountain, and a lightning-fast golden-winged roc spreading its wings like a golden cloud. These three rulers of the Shichuo Sacred Realm represent the absolute peak of the Taiwu realm, with the lion and elephant demons at the fourth level of the Sacred Realm, and the roc demon reaching an even higher saint-level cultivation. Recognizing the immense strength of the blood demon Heavenly Wolf, and sensing no obvious demonic energy radiating from Qin Hang, the red-furred lion demon steps forward with uncharacteristic caution and asks the intruder's purpose. Seeking to avoid a catastrophic all-out war that would destabilize the realm, Qin Hang bypasses brute force entirely. Stepping forward, he coolly issues a staggering challenge. He demands a 3-on-3 duel between his three subordinates and the Shichuo leaders, declaring that, if his side wins all three matches, the entire Shichuo Sacred Realm must submit to his rule. The bold demand for a duel causes an immediate uproar among the Shichuo demons. Outraged by the audacity of outsiders walking into their territory and demanding a takeover, the surrounding demonic horde erupts in protest. Yet, the three supreme Shichuo rulers hesitate, well aware of the terrifying power radiating from Qin Hang's subordinates. Unable to contain his impatience and eager to test the intruder's true strength, the golden-winged Rock King suddenly narrows his eyes and lashes out. Mobilizing his full martial might, he launches a devastating beam of golden light straight at Qin Hang. The surrounding air ignites with explosive, buzzing force as the lethal probe tears through space. While the other Shichuo leaders are startled by the Rock King's sudden aggression, Qin Hang remains entirely unbothered. Having reached the elite martial emperor realm, he reads the Rock King's hidden movements effortlessly. Without flinching, Qin Hang simply extends his right palm. Dark, dense light condenses in his hand, accompanied by a crushing, refined pressure. When the golden light collides with his palm, it instantly flickers out and dissolves into nothingness. The gathered demons stare in shock, unable to comprehend how a powerful strike from the Rock King could be neutralized so effortlessly, leaving them stunned by the unfathomable strength of the young master. That effortless block instantly changes the atmosphere. The lesser demons stop laughing, while the three Shichuo leaders finally realize that Qin Hang's strength is far beyond the level they had estimated. Even the golden-winged Rock King, who launched the probing strike himself, is forced to reassess the gap between them. Witnessing this, the three leaders of Shichuo tribe were stunned. They realized with horror that even if all three of them joined forces, they still wouldn't stand a chance against Qin Hang. Trembling, the golden-winged roc stammered out a question. Are you a demon? Qin Hang frowned and replied flatly, "No, I am human." That single sentence sent shockwaves through every demon present. A supreme saint-level figure turned out to be an ordinary human? The revelation left both men and monsters in absolute disbelief. Meanwhile, back in the bustling areas of the Taiwu realm, the magic displays performed by Qin Hang pushed demon points through the roof. Boosted by the rising reputation of the demon suppression sect, the master's demon points surged rapidly, adding 5, then 7, and another 3 points in quick succession. Over in the capital of the Tongming Kingdom, human citizens jumped for joy upon hearing the news. For the first time ever, humanity had produced a supreme powerhouse, capable of crushing the mighty golden-winged demonic eagle. Not only did he possess terrifying personal strength, but he also commanded 3 immensely powerful magical beasts. Believing this marked the long-awaited golden age of humanity, especially after the previous provocations by the heavenly demon Blood Wolf, the public was ecstatic to see the demons fighting among themselves and weakening each other. However, amidst the celebration, the situation quickly shifted to a higher-stakes view. On the top floor of a bustling tea house, several high-ranking figures watched the entire spectacle unfold with grim, solemn expressions. Among them, draped in a magnificent dragon robe and sporting a mustache, sat the supreme ruler himself, the Emperor of Qi. Back in the imperial court, the Emperor of Qi and his advisors stare in utter bewilderment at the magical projection. Who on earth is Qin Hang? Even the highest-ranking figures of the Taiwu realm have never seen or heard of someone with his appearance, completely defying all known records. To make matters worse, A viral projection shows Qin Heng openly challenging the terrifying three-headed monster at Shichuo. As the court struggles to process this madness, the seasoned royal advisor Zhou Maming steps in with a logical deduction. He analyzes that Qin Heng must have had a deadly blood feud with the Tuosheng realm masters in his youth, forced into deep seclusion to cultivate an absolute secrecy until his martial arts reached their peak. It all fits. Why else would a mysterious human powerhouse suddenly emerge from the shadows to settle old scores? However, that rational explanation immediately shatters as the projection continues. On the screen, a staggering development unfolds. The golden-winged Rock King agrees to a one-on-one duel with Qin Heng. If the fierce demon loses, the entire Shichuo territory faces destruction. The imperial court is left in stunned silence. Why would an overwhelming horde of vicious demons willingly agree to a duel with a human? The answer is brutally clear. The demons aren't being foolish. They have been completely outmatched. Qin Heng's overwhelming strength has forced these arrogant monsters into submission and compromise. As the officials stare in disbelief, they realize the balance of power in the world has fundamentally shifted. The mysterious young man in the black cloak is on the verge of breaking through to even greater heights, leaving the entire realm watching his every move. A historic turning point unfolds across the continent as the long-standing military conflict between humanity and demons approaches a shocking climax. By marching straight into the enemy's lair at the Shichuo Holy Land, Qin Heng achieves a feat no other power in the Taiwu realm has ever managed. As he leads the three-headed demon tribe, onlookers realize that win or lose, his name will forever echo through history. While the high-level master demons understand that fighting Qin Heng directly means certain doom for their sect, the lesser demons remain completely baffled. Convinced that the Golden Winged Rock King is merely setting a trap, they eagerly await what they assume will be a crushing defeat for the human. However, Qin Heng's true goal goes far beyond mere destruction. Looking at the formidable golden-winged eagle, he doesn't see an enemy to slaughter, but a valuable asset. With a bit of guidance, he calculates that this powerful creature could easily break through to a higher cultivation threshold, saving him plenty of trouble. To Qin Heng, racial differences mean nothing. Whether human or demon, loyalty is all that matters. While those who once forced him and his disciples into servitude are treated as enemies, capable demons who serve him with absolute devotion can become trusted allies. With his mind made up, Qin Heng issues a calm yet commanding order to his subordinates, the Blood Wolf, the Grey Leopard, and the Nine-Tailed Fox. Fight them one by one in the space I've created, Qin Heng instructs smoothly. Take it easy, don't kill them. I'm going to pack all these demons into the Hall of Myriad Demons. Hearing this, the demons finally reach their breaking point. Believing that Qin Heng's subordinates stand no chance against their three mighty lords, the demonic crowd bursts into roaring laughter, mocking the human's audacity and betting that his underlings won't even last 3 moves before being completely wiped out. You still haven't lost. Shut up. A sharp, sudden shout from the golden-winged Rock King cuts off the mocking laughter, leaving all the lesser demons stunned. Why is their king scolding them? But these monsters, having cultivated to the Void Jade level, aren't fools. In an instant, they realize the terrifying truth. The human standing before them is someone their 3 great kings genuinely fear. Without missing a beat, Qin Heng raises his hand. A precise flash of white energy gathers in his palm, rapidly condensing into a floating cube. Observers from the Lingxiao Holy Land would instantly recognize this. It is the 6 Desires Heavenly Demon's prison technique. Qin Heng has not only perfectly replicated the Tao of the Demon Lords from the Demon Sealing Tower, but thanks to his fusion of various Taos and his breakthrough to a higher cultivation threshold, his version is infinitely more powerful and massive than anything seen before. You'll take the first match, Qin Heng commands sharply, his gaze fixed on the arena. In a flash of destructive force, the red-haired lion and the demonic blood wolf are swallowed whole. Inside the colossal white 4-dimensional cube, the 2 beasts appear as tiny black dots. While the space looks small from the outside, the spatial manipulation expands it to tens of thousands of square kilometers, a vast, perfect battleground. Outside, the demonic envoys from the Shichuo Holy Land stare in disbelief. Even though they expected Qin Heng to be strong, this method is terrifying beyond comprehension. The red-haired lion is no pushover. As a top-tier master at the 4th level of the Saint Realm, a single roar from him can shake mountains and rivers. Yet, he was sucked into Qin Heng's palm without offering the slightest resistance. The golden-winged Rock King blinks in cold sweat, a chilling thought crossing his mind. Has this human's power surpassed the 5th level, reached a level far beyond their expectations? There is no time to ponder. Inside the blinding white world, the red-haired lion demon snaps out of his initial shock. Having reigned supreme in the Taiwu realm for centuries, he hasn't experienced a total loss of bodily control in a very long time. As the overwhelming gravitational pull finally fades away, the stage is officially set for an earth-shattering clash. All surrounding paths are completely suppressed, blocking any control over the Tao. Qin Heng's terrifying elimination technique strikes shock into the hearts of the demon cultivators, though they are fortunate that Qin Heng intended to use the Tao of poetry from the very beginning. Red-haired lion, a powerful beast king, roars in defiance. Refusing to submit easily, his entire body bursts into violent flames that warp the surrounding space before shifting into a brilliant golden armor around his waist. A massive surge of power erupts as he unleashes the golden lion fist, sending waves of fire sweeping across a 1,000-mile radius and turning the region into a sea of golden flames. Hailed as a madman, the heavenly ghost Blood Wolf instantly retaliates, unleashing a thick, deep crimson wave of blood energy. Crimson blood and golden fire crash together, violently scorching one another as the battle escalates to its absolute peak. Outside, the watching demons are stunned to witness the Lion King deploy his supreme technique from the Thai Von realm, the Golden Fire Armor. However, dealing with the blood technique proves extremely difficult. A torrent of blood erupts, blocking the fiery onslaught and gradually plunging the situation into a fierce stalemate. The blood energy begins to swallow and erode the golden flames, relentlessly pushing toward the armored waist of the Lion King. Even with his cultivation at the Saint Realm, further enhanced by the guidance of Qin Heng's faction and his own ancient foundations, the Lion King is outmatched. The notorious Blood Dao proves too difficult to counter, and the Lion King is slowly stripped of his defenses, falling completely onto the defensive side. The onlookers can hardly believe their eyes. The majestic Lion King is losing, but any hope of a miraculous comeback is quickly shattered. Within a single minute of fierce combat, the heavenly ghost Blood Wolf asserts total dominance, and visible cracks begin to fracture the Golden Lion's armor. News of Qin Heng's overwhelming display of power ripples across millions of miles, sparking intense excitement among humanity. Within the majestic peaks of the heavenly remnant Holy Land, the pinnacle stronghold of the Taiwu realm, observers quickly realize the gravity of the situation. Qin Heng is able to casually unleash his Taoist magic directly onto the stronghold, a feat that would shock all human factions if word got out. However, danger lurks behind the awe. Lu Guan, a veteran diviner of the Holy Land with over 9,000 years of experience and 7 millennia mastering the art of deduction, attempts to peer into Qin Heng's origins using the Bagua mirror and his own blood as a medium. The result is catastrophic. Instead of gathering information, Lu Guan violently spits blood as a pair of terrifying eyes suddenly stare straight back at him from the endless void. He realizes with a jolt of cold sweat that Qin Heng possesses the power to obliterate his soul through this mere causal link. Shaken by the encounter, Lu Guan warns the Holy Land Master that Qin Heng's true background is deeply mysterious and potentially dangerous. Despite being human, Qin Heng commands ferocious beasts like the Nightmare, Nine-Tailed Fox, and Haoying, treating these powerful demons as loyal subordinates. Lu Guan argues that such absolute control and ambiguous allegiance mean they cannot blindly trust him. As the leaders of the heavenly remnant Holy Land weigh the alarming implications, the realization sinks in. While Qin Heng's unmatched strength benefits humanity on the surface, his unpredictable loyalties could easily upend the entire power balance of the Taiwu realm. In the world of Taiwu realm, Lu Guan is completely blindsided by the sudden rise of a terrifying human prodigy named Qin Heng. According to calculations, human Saint Realm experts have a lifespan of about 10,000 years, and Qin Heng reached the Saint Realm 7,000 years ago during a brutal war against demons. Back then, the chance of him being injured was extremely low, meaning he emerged completely unscathed. The shocking reality hits Lu Guan. Qin Heng's realm has long surpassed the Saint Realm, reaching the legendary martial emperor level. Even Lu Tian failed to detect this, leaving Lu Guan in a state of inner chaos while trying to keep his composure in front of the Saint Land of Geniuses. Meanwhile, inside the white cube created by Qin Heng, the battle reaches a critical turning point. Xie Lang Yao is on the verge of victory, leveraging a mystical blood island that continuously self-heals. The violent corrosion of golden flames around the red-haired lion's waist has wiped out 90% of its protective light. The blood fiend demon wolf seizes the opportunity, launching a relentless assault that shatters the red lion's golden armor and begins eroding its physical body. Trapped inside Qin Heng's absolute domain, the supreme ancestor of the demon beast tribe can neither escape nor use secret arts to flee. He is forced to fight a losing battle to the death. Witnessing this horrifying display of power, the observing beast leaders, including the golden winged stone beast and the old yellow-cheeked elephant beast, are panic-stricken. Realizing that even a subordinate of Qin Heng possesses overwhelming, matchless strength, these proud beast leaders are forced to completely humble themselves, begging Qin Heng to spare their comrade's life and end the battle before it's too late. Not wasting any time, Qin Heng immediately launches the next phase of his plan. Without missing a beat, he manipulates his fingers to trigger a powerful suction force inside the white cube, dragging in his next targets, the nightmare demonic nine-tailed fox and the old yellow-toothed elephant. Once trapped inside, the yellow-toothed elephant suddenly expands to thousands of times its size, surging with overwhelming blood chi before slamming down its massive trunk. However, the nine-tailed fox remains completely calm, forming a double lotus hand seal and letting out a sharp shriek. Instantly, a multicolored mist erupts, materializing into bizarre, giant fantasy creatures. A dreamlike bird with massive pink mist wings creates terrifying gales with every flap, while a crystal-legged keelin radiates a pale purple glow alongside an army of delicate, red-veined sprite spirits. Wielding miniature magic wands, these sprites rain blazing columns of fire down on the giant elephant. Though they look somewhat comical with their childish battle cries, these illusionary entities pack a devastating punch. Each spawned entity boasts strength, matching the first level of the Saint Realm, powerful enough to establish an independent Holy Land in the Central Plains. As the continuous waves of dream creatures clash relentlessly with the elephant, the battle quickly escalates into a brutal, chaotic melee. Realizing that the relentless summoning from the rear is slowly spelling his doom, the yellow-toothed elephant lets out a furious roar that shakes his very flesh and skin, desperate to break the deadlock. A flash of brownish-yellow energy erupts, momentarily shielding the area before surging directly toward the nightmare nine-tailed fox. But with a flash of its eyes, the fox unleashes a wave of pink aura that completely traps the old yellow-tusked elephant monster within. While the elephant stands paralyzed, illusionary creatures swarm forward, shattering its earth-yellow defense barrier. By the time the elephant regains consciousness, the fox has already created a massive distance between them, laughing mockingly at its opponent's foolish reliance on raw strength and poor illusion-breaking abilities. The battle is a masterclass in control. When the golden-toothed monster roars and charges again, the nightmare nine-tailed fox repeats the exact same trick, effortlessly manipulating dreamlike entities and dominating the fight like a skilled mage. Spectators watching outside the white square look on with pity. Compared to this terrifying fox, their elephant king looks utterly foolish and helpless, unable to land even a single meaningful blow. Seeing this overwhelming dominance, the red-maned lion shifts its position near the Jin family's greenhouse and turns to its companion with a cautious whisper. Can anyone truly defeat this monster? Standing against Qin Hang seems increasingly futile, especially when his 3 demonic generals alone possess enough might to nearly conquer the Shichuo Holy Land. Realizing that survival and prosperity lie in compliance rather than doomed resistance, the lion weighs the wisdom of submitting to the rising power. Meanwhile, a glance from the waist-embracing figure's loyal and calculating subordinates under Qin Hang sends a shiver down the golden dragon child's spine. The sheer perceptual prowess of Qin Hang's faction makes it clear that even the subtlest energies do not escape their notice. The realization hits hard. The once revered golden-winged great eagle, a figure looked up to by both humans and monsters as a future leader destined to trample humanity, has been utterly shattered. Having witnessed Qin Hang effortlessly crush multiple powerful opponents, the once mighty monster is left feeling like a mere jester, acutely aware that any of Qin Hang's inner circle could easily defeat him. Faced with overwhelming defeat, the yellow-tusked elephant monster inside the white cube finally breaks and screams, "I surrender." With a wave of his hand, the nightmare nine-tailed fox instantly shatters the illusionary creations. Qin Hang immediately steps in, ejecting both fighters from the white space. With 2 battles concluded, he delivers an ultimatum: lose one more match, and all remaining forces must submit to the command of the 10,000 Demons' Holy Land. The payoff is massive. Qin Hang's system alerts flash continuously as his demon points skyrocket by over 160,000 in just 2 short battles, the largest haul he has ever received since unifying the Central Plains. Realizing that expanding his influence into other realms is the fastest path to power, Qin Hang estimates these accumulated points will allow him to break through to the next major cultivation level once the final match concludes. Meanwhile, panic spreads among the remaining demons. With only the Greenhouse King left, the demonic factions debate whether they still have a chance. Yet, witnessing the terrifying might of Qin Hang's 3 demonic generals each possessing world-class combat strength, the low-level demons quickly decide that resistance is futile. Realizing that the wisest course of action is to submit to absolute power, both the onlookers and the leaders lean towards surrender rather than facing annihilation. The final challenger steps up, the golden-winged great eagle, a legendary figure who has slain over 10 human Saint Realm masters and once hoped to trample humanity. Refuses to go down without a fight. Channeling his fury and excitement, he draws a sharp sword light from his spine, unleashing an overwhelming majestic aura that tears a massive gap in the clouds. However, as several mysterious magical figures emerge from the Shadow Sect, their terrifying pressure stuns everyone present. Far surpassing the previous demonic generals, this new display of power leaves the master and disciples wondering just how vast the gap truly is among Qin Hang's elite forces. With a quick twitch of Qin Hang's index finger, the white cube unleashes an inescapable suction force, instantly swallowing both the silver gray-vest ghost and the golden-winged great eagle into the final battle. Outside the arena, on the main peak of the heaven-destroying Holy Land, elite human experts of the Taiwu realm watch in shock. Qin Hang has dismantled the red-maned lion and the yellow-tusked elephant with terrifying speed. Initially, fearing that these powerful demonic generals would push humanity to the brink of extinction, the human masters now realize Qin Hang's true goal is total subjugation rather than slaughter. Ironically, many humans now find themselves rooting for Qin Hang to win easily, hoping his overwhelming control will stabilize the realm rather than unleash a catastrophic war. Far away in the Dark Realms, within the sprawling Black Tide Holy Dragon Palace, the terrifying Lord Ninehaven's Black Dragon and elite members of the demon race stare in disbelief at the scrying projections. The seemingly invincible leaders of the Shichuo faction, long regarded as nearly absolute powers, are being dragged down and defeated with shocking ease by unknowns, wielding an unprecedented art of writing and refining mysteries. As the final clash begins, the pressure reaches a boiling point. The legendary Great Eagle, renowned for slaying over 10 human Saint Realm masters, and possessing a superior physique capable of crushing any single-file opponent, stands as the final barrier for the demon race. Yet, facing Qin Hang's incomprehensible methods, even this apex predator's confidence begins to crumble as the true, terrifying gap in power is laid bare for all worlds to witness. For nearly 1,000 years, the demon race has brutally oppressed humanity, but all their efforts are suddenly rendered meaningless as a mysterious human youth leads a formidable faction to dismantle two of the Shichuo leaders. Watching from afar, the Nine Havens Black Dragon coldly commands his forces to stay out of it, realizing that the global order has completely shifted. Regardless of the outcome, the true master pulling the strings is the black-robed youth, Qin Heng, and the era of demonic dominance is over. Inside the vast white arena on the sandstone mountains, the battle reaches its climax. The gray-vested, leopard-like shadow clone stands opposite the proud golden-winged great eagle. With a cultivation level at the 7th tier of the Saint Realm, 2 full levels above the Great Eagle and an unmatched mastery of Ruijin energy, the Shadow Clone exudes overwhelming dominance. Desperate to turn the tide, the golden-winged Great Eagle unleashes a blinding wave of golden light designed to wipe out everything in its path. He plans to use this massive area of effect attack to clear out the thousands of copies swarming the battlefield. However, horror strikes as the golden wave crashes forward. To the Great Eagle's disbelief, the leopard clones march straight through the lethal attack, completely unharmed and overflowing with vitality. It dawns on him with terrifying clarity that these are not ordinary illusions. Even when split into thousands of duplicates, every single clone retains a devastating fraction of power that completely overwhelms his defenses. The battlefield explodes into action as the multiple sword-wielding shadow demon unleashes a ferocious assault, tearing right through waves of golden energy. Sensing danger, the golden-winged Great Rock instantly activates its supreme supernatural ability, manipulating space to teleport tens of thousands of miles away in a single flap of its wings. This terrifying speed and unmatched agility have long made the golden-winged devil bird a nightmare across the Taivo realm, allowing it to easily dictate the flow of combat and pick off enemies one by one. Convinced it has left its pursuer far behind, the rock suddenly freezes as a chilling voice rings out from directly behind its shadow. "You're fast, aren't you?" Without warning, a stream of dark energy peels away from the rock's own shadow, materializing into the shadow-wielding assassin pierced by multiple swords. Having locked onto the rock's shadow from the very beginning of the fight using the profound Dark Dao, the assassin unleashes a devastating shadow sword. Slash. The black light detonates directly against the legendary golden rock, shattering its peerless magical feathers and spilling blood everywhere. For a creature that has reigned near the peak of the 5th level of the Saint Realm, taking this level of severe damage is completely unprecedented. Outside the combat boundary, Qin Heng and the assembled demons closely watch the entire spectacle unfold. The shadow demon, Huiyin, has completely seized the initiative, trapping the supposedly invincible rock in a corner of despair. Even the onlookers are left in utter shock, wondering how anyone could possibly counter such a bizarre, sword-mastering shadow beast known as the Shadow Leopard. The tide of the war quickly settles as Ma Yun steps forward to smooth things over, conceding defeat and acknowledging the new pecking order. "From now on, we are all brothers and friends, serving under Qin Heng," Ma Yun declares, proving the old adage that fighting builds bonds. The outcome of the clash is undeniable. The formidable golden-winged Great Rock has been thoroughly crushed by the gray-shadowed leopard demon, whose prowess far surpasses the previous wolf and fox demons. This decisive victory makes absolute sense. Qin Heng naturally arranged for one of the absolute strongest combatants in his faction to clash directly against the enemy's ultimate trump card. Though the intense battle continues and the golden-winged rock reels from dizziness and continuous suppression under Huiyin's mastery of the Dark Dao, the fierce struggle drives home one undeniable truth. Resistance against this level of overwhelming power is entirely futile. The battle reaches its absolute climax as Huiyin's sword explodes, unleashing tens of thousands of jet Black Panther clones that flood the battlefield. The golden-winged Great Rock desperately spreads its golden wings to block the swarm, but the sheer numbers are overwhelming. As the golden light fades and its defenses shatter, the rock finally admits defeat. Instantly, the Shadow Panthers recede, and Huiyin gracefully accepts the victory. Recognizing the rock's immense talent, he welcomes it as a future comrade under King Qin Heng, rather than holding a grudge. With the 3 matches concluded, the white square barrier shatters into nothingness. Qin Heng's voice echoes across the heavens, announcing that since Shichuo's forces have lost all 3 battles, the entire faction must now submit. Exchanging knowing glances, the golden-winged Great Rock, the red-haired lion, and the ancient yellow-walled elephant realize fighting on is pointless. Resistance would only mean total annihilation. Together, the 3 powerful demon lords formally submit, declaring their allegiance to King Qin Heng and vowing to endure any hardship for him. Seeing their leaders yield, the remaining demons instantly welcome Qin Heng to Shichuo with roaring approval. The victory brings an immediate and massive reward. Qin Heng's demon points skyrocket as the prestige of his suppressing demonic sect surges, jumping by hundreds and thousands with every submission until his total points blast past 1.5 million resources he can now use to liberate even more powerful demon lords. By directly copying the cultivation levels and supernatural abilities of his defeated foes, Qin Heng effortlessly ascends to the 5th level of the Martial Emperor realm, easily surpassing the Kangyun realm in overall power. By decisively conquering the strongest demon faction of the region, he completely shatters any resistance and claims absolute dominion over the Saint Realm. Accompanied by his retinue and the three newly subdued leaders of Shichuo, Qin Heng explores the magnificent floating palaces of the Saint Realm, while keeping his ultimate objective in sight. He turns to the golden-winged Great Rock and demands to be led to the Inter-Realm Gate. The request instantly brings a revelation to the demon leaders. They finally realize that Qin Heng and his forces are not native inhabitants of the Taiwu realm, but rather powerful travelers from another prison dimension. This explains why he harbors no deep-seated racial hatred toward the local demons, and possesses the terrifying, godlike might of a martial emperor capable of tearing through the chaotic void between realms. Understanding that fighting a supreme martial emperor is completely futile, the three leaders feel a sense of relief, shedding centuries of bitter prejudice. Accepting his command, the golden-winged Great Rock instantly transforms into a streak of golden light and races ahead, with Qin Heng and his group closely trailing behind. With the Taiwu realm now firmly in his grasp and his overwhelming power displayed for all to see, Qin Heng's next objective is clear: rapidly bring in talented builders and elite forces from the Kangyun realm to cement his absolute control over this new domain. The conquest of the region is reaching its final stage, and the operation is moving at lightning speed. Using the Shichuo Holy Land as a base, powerful monsters and elite personnel from the Kangyun realm are rapidly transported forward. The mission is clear: the enemy strongholds in the Taiwu realm must be flattened as quickly as possible. In no time, the group arrives at a massive valley. Right in the center, a dark, ominous portal floats in midair, radiating a dense surge of spiritual energy. Compared to the hidden and heavily guarded portal in the Kangyun realm, which required mobilizing a massive force and personally tearing through a spatial crack over the endless ocean, this gateway is far more prominent and accessible. As the golden-winged eagle explains, the unique and rare terrain of this valley, combined with the presence of a powerful sect, is precisely why Shichuo chose it as the site for his academy. While the Taiwu realm previously lacked high-level martial emperor experts to fully utilize this gateway, it is now ready to serve its true purpose. Qin Heng wastes no time. He steps forward and takes direct control. Extending his index finger, he projects a point of glowing red light toward the north at a distance of 2,457 meters. The red light shoots out and locks precisely into place. Immediately following, a cyan light beam converges at his fingertip, shooting eastward 541 meters with rapidly increasing speed. Soon, multicolored points of light appear one after another, each carefully placed by Qin Heng into exact positions. In the blink of an eye, the entire area erupts in brilliant radiance. Each colored particle emits a distinct Dao aura, enveloping the boundary gate and stunning the three leaders of Shichuo. They watch in disbelief. How many Daos is Qin Heng controlling? Is it even possible for one person to command this many? Even though they haven't reached the martial emperor realm yet, they can sense enough to realize that not even a true martial emperor could pull off a feat like this. The mysterious, unified power radiating from Qin Heng leaves the top warriors of the Taiwu realm completely awestruck. For the Blood Demon and Heavenly Wolf Demon, however, this overwhelming display of dominance is nothing new. It is simply the undeniable power of their supreme leader at work. With the mysterious boundary portal fully activated, the multicolored energy grid connects into a magnificent array, bringing the realm's breakthrough closer than ever. Meanwhile, back in the Kangyun realm, Qin Heng issues direct commands to mobilize a massive military and logistical campaign aimed straight at the Taiwu realm. Across the vast sea, an enormous fleet of spiritual energy-powered ships cuts through the water at high speed, escorted by giant demon lords. At the helm is the lead vessel, marked with the construction department banner. On deck, workers and high-ranking leaders murmur in astonishment. This is no ordinary mission. Over 60% of the entire construction department has been mobilized, amounting to thousands of separate operational groups alongside elite forces from the White Emperor Academy, and scattered demon lords from across the Central Plains. Led personally by the Holy Lord Qin Heng, the sheer scale of the deployment makes it crystal clear to everyone on board. They are heading into a massive, unstoppable conquest against a powerful enemy, and failure is simply not an option. Suddenly, cheers erupt across the fleet. Ahead of them lies an awe-inspiring sight: thousands of top-tier spiritual warships, glowing with supreme energy and master craftsmanship. Among them, the soaring cloud dragon boat glides like a giant dragon wrapped in clouds, its hull shimmering with intricate dragon-scale runes. Not far away, the phoenix dancing on the nine heavens boat stands out completely, carved from crystal-clear, transparent divine glass with a floating lotus throne design that naturally purifies all worldly impurities. The scale of the armada exceeds everyone's wildest imagination, signaling that Qin Heng's grand military machine is ready to sweep across the world. At the center of the gathering, Supreme Holy Lord Qin Heng appears, floating in midair, clad in a black robe. Though he has long since stepped back from daily governance to focus on grand strategies, his rare appearance instantly electrifies the crowd. For most personnel and demon lords, this is their first time seeing the legendary leader in person. Stepping forward, Qin Heng delivers a clear, commanding speech that sets the entire army on fire. He announces the primary objective: the invasion and conquest of the new world known as the Taiwu realm. Under the leadership of the Demon Kings and the construction forces, every conquered territory will be integrated into their 10,000 demons' holy land. To ensure absolute loyalty and peak performance, Qin Hang outlines a massive reward system. Those who contribute significantly to the expansion will receive top-tier mission rewards, abundant martial resources, and most coveted of all, rare personal guidance directly from Qin Hang himself. The promise of massive rewards and clear advancement drives the entire assembly into a frenzy of excitement. Even veteran fighters like the Blood Demon and Heavenly Wolf Demon, who skyrocketed to the top ranks thanks to Qin Hang's meticulous mentoring, stand as living proof of his power to elevate his followers. With morale peaking and resources guaranteed, the massive armada prepares to pounce on the Taiwu realm. With the Central Plains and the entire flying realm firmly under the control of the Demon Suppression sect, Qin Hang sets his sights on a bigger prize: the Taiwu realm. Waving his hand, Qin Hang projects a brilliant multicolored light to link the spatial coordinates across realms. Transporting hundreds of thousands of troops across space is a feat that even high-level martial emperors consider impossible. But Qin Hang's immense spiritual depth and multi-Dao control make the impossible look easy. With a fierce pull, he rips open a massive, pitch-black spatial rift. "Enter the Taiwu realm," Qin Hang commands. Instantly, thousands of spiritual warships and an army of eager demon lords surge into the black hole. Thanks to Qin Hang stabilizing the passage, the elite forces pass through safely in less than a minute before he seals the rift shut. Though a light sweat beads on his forehead, Qin Hang is more than satisfied. With this massive force, conquering the entire Taiwu realm will take less than half a month. His grand strategy is already in motion: conquer Taiwu, extract millions in resources, unleash the Demon King, and upgrade his power level before pushing into subsequent realms. Back at the boundary gate in the Taiwu realm, the multicolored energy grid connects completely, leaving local leaders like the Golden-Winged Eagle utterly astounded. Recognizing Qin Hang's godlike ability to teleport massive armies across realms, the Eagle offers full support from his own skilled subordinates, eager to hitch a ride to ultimate power as Qin Hang's unstoppable conquest rolls on. While local factions like the Lion Camel pride themselves on their strength, Qin Hang makes it clear that their methods are slow and unorganized. Drawing from his experience expanding a small realm in the southern territory into a vast empire, Qin Hang explains that his established institutions and expert organizations handle expansion with unmatched efficiency. Though the three leaders of Shichuo outwardly agree out of sheer awe and fear of his overwhelming martial emperor power, inwardly they harbor doubts. Even legendary figures, they reason, can usually only summon a few dozen elite fighters at a time. How many soldiers could Qin Hang possibly bring? Then, reality shatters their expectations. A thunderous buzzing sound erupts from the spatial black hole. A massive spiritual warship, intricately decorated with dragon-scale patterns, surges out into the Taiwu realm. The local leaders stare in absolute disbelief, their jaws dropping at the supreme craftsmanship of the vessel. The nine-tailed fox demon sneers at their shock, explaining that in the Kangyun realm, which Qin Hang completely controls, such top-tier magical vessels are commonplace. Thanks to Qin Hang's absolute command over resources and elements, constructing warships with specialized elemental attributes guided by saint-level demon lords is effortless. In the Taiwu realm, such mighty entities sit atop the pyramid and would never lower themselves to manual construction. But under Qin Hang, an endless fleet of these magnificent vessels pours out of the rift, signaling the unstoppable arrival of a new era. Every warship emerging from the gateway is built to the same astonishing standard as the first. The three Shichuo leaders can only watch in silence as one elite unit after another pours out of the Kangyun realm. Tens of thousands of cultivators, craftsmen, administrators, and demon lords are mobilized in a matter of minutes. What shocks the Golden-Winged Rock most is not merely the number of troops, but their organization. Many of the demon lords stepping through the gate possess auras equal to or stronger than his own, yet every one of them follows Qin Hang's orders without hesitation. To these ancient demons, crossing into another realm is nothing new. Their only concern is earning enough merit to secure better resources and personal guidance from their master. More figures continue to emerge from the spatial passage. The three Shichuo leaders exchange stunned looks. They had assumed Qin Hang was a lone supreme expert with three powerful followers. Only now do they understand that the terrifying young man in black commands an entire inter-realm war machine. That was King Qin's initial vision. A world where humans and monsters coexist. Then a genius emerged, breaking the balance and triggering a domino effect. Now, they want to replicate that setup. Of course, their expectations differ wildly from reality. The Kangyun realm originally had almost no monsters left. Humans were the dominant race, locked in constant internal warfare. King Qin is merely Jiang. All the demon lords inside the demon sealing tower have been released, creating this spectacle. His powerful generals are predominantly demonic because these lords were imprisoned by the demonic sect across various territories 80,000 years ago. In short, they have gathered numerous potent bloodlines from the demon race, making the entire display extraordinarily overwhelming. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The black hole portal finally closes after a minute, leaving the Shichuo Sanctuary's lair brimming with magnificent magic treasures and menacing ghost ships that cast an eerie chill. Linzhou's defensive barrier shatters completely. Personnel from various factions drop to their knees in pilgrimage, bowing in utter reverence to King Qin Hang. and chanting his praises across the heavens. Qin Heng nods calmly before waving his hand to unfurl maps detailing the power distribution of the Taiwu realm. He assigns explicit tasks to the demon lords, ordering them to demand immediate submission from every local faction and to slaughter mercilessly anyone who resists. Grinning with bloodthirsty anticipation, the demon lords transform into streaks of light and streak across the sky. This is the first phase of Qin Heng's blitzkrieg strategy. With no time to waste on lengthy negotiations, Qin Heng aims to swiftly subdue the Taiwu realm to neutralize potential threats from the demon suppression sect and tightly secure vital resources. Watching the barrage of light streaking across different directions, the three Shichuo leaders realize today marks a historic turning point. No one could have predicted that a complete stranger named Qin Heng would launch his debut campaign by conquering Taiwu, the most powerful monster-dominated world, and instantly declare war on all surrounding powers. This overwhelming foreign force completely shatters the millennia-old balance between humans and monsters in the Taiwu realm. Yet, Qin Heng's ultimate motivation stems from a deep-seated caution. He knows he must rapidly scale his own power to defend against the terrifying enemies from the demon suppression sect that might one day descend upon him. Turning his attention back to the locals, Qin Heng instructs the three leaders of Shichuo to arrange quarters for his resting troops, while non-combat divisions like the construction and prison management teams remain on standby until the territories are fully pacified. The leaders eagerly comply, offering to guide Qin Heng's forces personally. Meanwhile, at the Heavenly Scar Sanctuary, acknowledged as the strongest human sanctuary in the Taiwu realm, a formidable group of elite figures with profound wisdom and terrifying aura stands waiting at the gates, bracing for what is to come. Deep inside the Heavenly Scar Sanctuary, tension grips the room as a meditating master opens his eyes. With a grim expression, he warns the others that Qin Heng's advance is moving far too fast, and that even uttering his name carelessly could spell doom for their entire sanctuary. Moments later, the sanctuary masters sense overwhelming fluctuations in the Tao's destiny closing in on them. From the horizon, wave after wave of bloodthirsty demon lords descend upon the sanctuary, brimming with excitement and eager to slaughter their way to glory. However, the invading demons are met with a completely unexpected sight. Rising to meet them, the master of the Heavenly Scar Sanctuary immediately raises his hands and shouts out a formal surrender to Qin Heng, declaring that they refuse to offer any resistance whatsoever. The bloodthirsty demon lords freeze mid-air, utterly dumbfounded. They had traveled all this way expecting an epic, blood-pumping war, only for the strongest human sanctuary in the realm to roll out the white flag instantly. Lord Lei Yao, Sheng Ho, and the other furious commanders fly into a rage, bitterly complaining that a bloodless surrender robs them of their hard-earned combat merits and denies them the glorious battle they had been promised. Everyone expected a fierce resistance and a bit of defiant posturing, which left the visitors from the Tianqin Holy Land completely bewildered. Hey, can you show some respect? After all, we are humanity's #1 superpower in the Taiwu realm, and we are willing to surrender. Ru Guan muttered quickly, thinking it might be a test of their sincerity, but after a brief, tense exchange, they quickly struck a deal over the ruins. The Lord of the Tianqin Holy Land sighed, realizing that seeing the imposing figure of Emperor Qin Heng completely captivated them and made any resistance utterly hopeless. Realizing that fighting back against such overwhelming force was suicide, they decided to bow and flatter their way through. Soon, other powerful figures joined in, eagerly declaring their absolute loyalty to Emperor Qin Heng and begging for a chance to serve under him as colleagues. The high-ranking veterans were left utterly speechless at how fast these so-called proud leaders folded. They had initially hoped to join the strongest faction in the Infinity Realm, to cause chaos and rack up merits, but instead, they surrendered before the battle even began. Since everyone else was jumping on the surrender bandwagon, the Demon King Li Shenghu decided there was no point in playing smart or provoking a wrath that could calculate every trick through the law of causality. With a helpless sigh, he ordered his men to submit directly and joked about registering to book a table at a local bar instead. After all, with both the top human factions and demon lords in the Taiwu realm giving up without a fight, the rest of the assigned territories wouldn't dare put up a struggle either. The entire conquest turned out to be astonishingly smooth, largely thanks to the terrifying combat display of Qin Heng, where 3 random demon generals brutally crushed Shiju. With such an overwhelming force casting a shadow over the realm, any thought of resistance was completely pointless, making peace and submission the only logical way forward. While humanity still offered a few stubborn pockets of resistance, the demon race surrendered almost entirely, with even powerful factions like Shiju folding without a fight. The demon clans quickly followed suit, leading to a complete subjugation of the entire Tianwu realm within just 3 days under the banner of the 10,000 Demons, Holy Land. Qin Heng immediately put his newly acquired manpower to work, mobilizing resources and personnel to various locations for reconstruction. As his titles as the Myriad Demon, Holy Emperor, and Demon Gate Suppressor were solidified, a massive influx of demon points flooded into his system. Sitting atop the highest palace within the Divine Mirror Stone, Qin Heng closed his eyes as system notifications rolled in endlessly, driving his power steadily upward. Reaching out with his divine consciousness deep into the demon-seeking pagoda, he began releasing level 5 demon kings, refining his mastery over stolen divine powers and techniques. Suddenly, a violent surge of multicolored spiritual energy erupted across the region, shaking the entire capital. Qin Hang opened his eyes with a jolt. He had broken through to the 6th level of the Martial Emperor realm, while his divine consciousness reached the 3rd level of the Martial Emperor realm. The breakthrough triggered a massive wave of multicolored light that washed over the subordinates within Shizu, sparking miraculous breakthroughs among them. The red-haired lion demon, golden-winged demon eagle, and yellow-toothed demon elephant all experienced explosive growth, leaping to new heights in their cultivation realms. Overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the terrifying, multifaceted demonic pressure radiating from Qin Hang's domain, the 3 demon leaders rushed into the sky to investigate. Recognizing the supreme entity behind the miraculous energy, they hurried straight toward Qin Hang's location to pay their respects and offer their absolute loyalty. "Greetings, Sovereign Qin Hang." The 3-headed demon leader bowed, staring in shock. "Your Majesty, did you break through again?" "Indeed." Shortly after arriving at the stone cavern, Qin Hang had not only reached the 5th level of the Martial Emperor realm, but now, defying all logical laws of cultivation, he had surged past yet another bottleneck into the terrifying 6th level. While ordinary martial emperors found each step upward an agonizing trial, Qin Hang treated breakthroughs like stepping stones, giving him supreme confidence to face any unknown threats. The 3-headed leader respectfully asked about their next move, noting that their swift conquest of the Taiwu realm was entirely thanks to Qin Hang's unmatched power. Qin Hang revealed his grand ambition. This was just the beginning. They planned to systematically conquer 7 or 8 neighboring realms, gathering enough accumulated strength and prestige to eventually surpass the Martial Emperor level entirely. While typical experts found expanding across realms a tedious, unrewarding chore that yielded little benefit, Qin Hang possessed a unique advantage. Conquering lower realms directly translated to massive spikes in reputation and power, functioning essentially like a cheat code for his cultivation. Dismissing the loyal demon leader with a wave, Qin Hang immediately turned his attention back to the Sword Dance Gate to initiate his next wave of expansion. Reaching out with his right hand, a swirl of dim black energy shot directly into the spatial rift. His divine consciousness instantly expanded, piercing through the endless void where countless, colossal realms hung side by side. Unlike his hidden base in the Kangyun realm, the Taiwu realm stood completely exposed without any defensive arrays masking its secrets. Sweeping his awareness across the space, Qin Hang quickly locked onto a distant sword-shaped shadow, marking his next target for total domination. After conquering the Taiwu realm, Qin Hang wastes no time. He gathers a group of powerful demon lords and moves directly to the next destination, the Luohai realm. Using the Tao of Causality to scout ahead for a month, he launches a swift, decisive strike that completely wipes out the enemy fleets. With momentum on his side, Qin Hang expands his influence to make the prestige of the demon sect resound across the region. In just 10 days, the entire Luohai boat completely submits to him. Those who surrender are treated generously, while those who refuse are executed on the spot. However, the overall power of Juyu still falls short of the Kangyun realm level, even after gaining over 1 million advantages in a short span. And using the data to free a demon lord, Qin Hang is still just shy of breaking through to the 7th level. Undeterred, he continues his conquest, knowing that conquering all the GAU will rapidly skyrocket his strength. 3 months later, his journey brings him to the Wind Boat region near Taiwu and Kangyun, where towering wind god trees blanket a cloud-formed continent. It is the once-in-a-century blooming season of these trees, showering the realm with glowing golden leaves that carry the minor energy of the 5 emperors level. As the center of the wind realm and home to the wind god technique, this place gathers the most formidable individuals in the area. Yet these terrifying entities radiating dark and powerful auras now stare with grim tension at the handsome young man in a black robe standing before them. Qin Hang is simply too overwhelming. With a mere wave of his hand, he casually obliterates 3 charging holy stage cultivators. Hovering above with a few demon lords trailing behind him, Qin Hang smiles and offers a choice. Are you still not going to surrender? Since leaving the Kangyun realm, we've conquered 6 more worlds, and our portraits have reached the 8th level of the 5 Earths. We have never encountered such stubborn resistance as this Luofeng realm, even when displaying absolute suppression. Despite holding the absolute upper hand, now commanding a total of 7 swordfishes, alongside elite demon lords and powerful experts, Qin Hang prefers a peaceful surrender to easily absorb their manpower. Instead of yielding, the fallen warriors erupt into fury and disdain. Do you think you can make our fallen sect surrender? A sudden freak like you will never do it. Our wind god's sect will punish you. Hearing this, the corners of Qin Hang's mouth twitch. These people are completely outmatched in raw power, yet they remain absurdly arrogant and even dare to insult him. They clearly have lived far too long, and their lingering dark, hateful aura hints that there is something deeply wrong with this JU. Deciding they are beyond saving, Qin Hang's eyes flash as he extends his right palm. With a sharp hiss, countless black threads erupt from his hand at terrifying speeds, piercing straight through the holy stage cultivators of the Luofeng sect. Even as they try to resist, the terrifying suppression radiating from the black threads locks them completely in place, leaving them utterly helpless as the web of darkness closes in. With a swift motion, Qin Hang's black threads sweep across the battlefield. More than 20 Saint Stage experts vanish instantly, turning to dust like burning paper under the sun. Behind him, the demon lords exchange mocking glances, finding the pathetic resistance of these fools thoroughly amusing. Following this easy victory, a seven-colored, spiritual bridge forms in the sky as a heavy rain sweeps across the land. Thanks to Qin Heng's habit of broadcasting his exploits across the entire wind boat, notifications flood his mind. His demon points surge rapidly, growing by hundreds with each localized victory for the suppressing demon sect. However, a sudden crisis erupts in the center of the Cloud Continent. A towering, thousand-faceted transparent crystal which has been accumulating power ever since Qin Heng arrived finally triggers. It unleashes a massive pillar of golden light that shoots straight into the sky, breaking through material barriers with a force reaching the 5D level. The demon lords instantly turn pale with panic, wondering what kind of terrifying entity could possess such heaven-defying strength. But Qin Heng remains completely calm. He quickly deduces that this is an emergency signal left behind by ancient gods from tens of thousands of years ago. The local followers had been brainwashed since childhood using a technique called the Wind God Technique, believing divine saviors would rescue them even at death's door. Realizing that this giant crystal pillar is merely an information warning beacon transmitting a signal across vast distances, Qin Heng knows the ultimate enemy is still far away, and will take time to arrive. Refusing to panic, Qin Heng immediately takes control of the situation and issues new orders. Turning to his subordinates, he tells them to split up and ruthlessly wipe out any remaining factions that refuse to surrender, pushing their conquest forward without missing a beat. With the immediate threat handled, Qin Heng refocuses on his primary goal, conquering more territory and accumulating advantages to boost his own strength. Seeing their leader completely unperturbed, the demon lords quickly shake off their anxiety. Shouting their loyalty, they transform into countless streaks of demonic light, shooting off in multiple directions to spread a wave of swift destruction across the wind realm. Meanwhile, Qin Heng senses that the hidden power behind the destruction of the demon suppression sect has finally taken the bait. Though his cultivation sits at the 8th level of the martial emperor realm, his mastery of myriad Daos allows his actual combat power to far exceed his rank. Eager to settle old scores and avenge his predecessors, he orders his subordinates to seal the conquered swords, establish strict administrative control, and immediately prepare to march on the next realm. However, miles away across the infinite void, a massive, otherworldly palace floats within a chaotic expanse. Built from an unknown black medicinal stone and warped by distorting light, this floating stronghold serves as the base of the Star God King. Inside, a towering figure made of layered tree-like cellular tissue, the yellow-robed wind god steps forward to report a critical update. The warning crystal left behind in the wind realm has detected the forbidden aura of the demon suppression sect. The Star God King turns, unsurprised yet intrigued. They trace this lingering legacy back to Bai Yi, the seemingly weak descendant of the Bai family who possessed only a 9th-level martial sovereign cultivation and barely survived thanks to hidden treasures. Though impressed that such a remote survivor could stumble upon a successor boasting 8th or 9th-level Saint Realm combat power, the Star God King remains entirely dismissive. Believing the remnants of the demon sect pose no real threat, he issues a direct order: dispatch Zhang Wen to obliterate them once and for all. Hearing Zhang Wen's name instantly reassures the surrounding commanders. As one of the Star God King's 6 elite generals, Zhang Wen has mastered the Space Dao and possesses combat power, rivaling a true god. Armed with this supreme spatial mobility, he is uniquely equipped to cross the treacherous, corrosive Chaos Sea, a perilous barrier that makes reaching the distant Wind Realm a near impossible task for anyone else. Convinced that Zhang Wen is the ultimate candidate to navigate the treacherous, corrosive Chaos Sea and effortlessly wipe out the remnants of the demon suppression sect, the Star God King expresses immense satisfaction. Summoned instantly by a wave of invisible energy, a towering, muscular man, nearly 3 meters tall, materializes before the throne. This is Zhang Wen, whose master-level grasp of the Space Dao grants him combat power rivaling a true god. Given his direct orders to march to the Wind Realm, destroy the remaining legacy of the demon suppression sect, and investigate nearby jade treasures, Zhang Wen's eyes flash with recognition. Though he respects the legendary ambition of the long-dead Bai Daoshan, he knows the demon sect's foundation is weak. Without hesitation, Zhang Wen stretches out his hand, tears open a massive spatial rift, and steps through, leaving the Star God King confident that the last embers of the demon sect will be completely erased from the timeline. Turning his attention back to his political chess pieces, the Star God King presses the Wind God about ongoing negotiations with the Rakshasa Ghost Sea, frustrated that they still refuse to surrender the prized white birth flowers. Meanwhile, far away from the enemy's scheming, Qin Heng's unstoppable campaign enters a new phase of explosive growth. Thanks to his expanding divine senses and the newly established Conquest Department of the 10,000 Demons' Holy Land, his multi-realm invasions operate with devastating efficiency. In just 10 days, Qin Heng breaks through to the 9th level of his current realm, while several demon lords pulled from the demon ceiling tower reach matching heights. By fusing countless Daos into a single supreme force, Qin Heng firmly anchors his absolute dominance over the 10,000 Demons' Holy Land, as he prepares for his next wave of conquest. Behind the majestic Jianggang Yun stronghold of the demonic sect, A towering black pagoda pierces the sky, surrounded by lush vegetation. Suddenly, the serene heavens erupt with violent spiritual surges as blinding beams of light shoot straight up from the structure. After enduring endless darkness, the imprisoned entities roar in triumph. Finally, it is their turn to break free. At the peak, behind the mountain, a registration desk is set up where frantic staff members process the wave of terrifying demon lords pouring out. Having grown accustomed to these frequent breakouts, the Hanlin Academy personnel remain remarkably calm, knowing that Supreme Master Qin Heng looms above, keeping absolute order and suppressing any rebellious impulses. As the demonic emperors flash their Taoist aura and arrive at the desk, they quickly fill out their assignment forms. True to form, Qin Heng wastes no time utilizing his newly unleashed workforce. Operating his grand war machine at maximum capacity, Qin Heng aims to expand rapidly and crush potential threats now that a mysterious enemy from the demon suppression sect has discovered him. Rather than sitting idly, he commands the freshly released demon lords to venture into the infinite void and construct a massive heavenly dragon entering mansion array to secure supreme dominance and counter incoming chaos. To maximize efficiency in erecting this 5D level spatial matrix against cosmic turbulence, these formidable demon lords find themselves conscripted as laborers. Deep within the infinite void, under Qin Heng's strict spiritual command, they toil away on the core array components, perfectly demonstrating the overwhelming might and absolute control of the Supreme Master as he prepares for the ultimate showdown. Under the master blueprint designed by Qin Heng, talented cultivators have successfully linked various structures together. Once completed, these central hubs unleash streams of dragon veins, forming the core of the Qianlong Kim Suo Grand Array. These veins aren't physical entities, they are condensed purely from energy and laws, writhing like real dragons swimming through the void and glowing with a brilliant golden light. As the formation takes shape, the imprisoned demon lords chat idly, wondering who could possibly be the true enemy of the demon-suppressing sect. They debate whether it's the Rakshasa Ghost Sea or the Hunter's Valley, realizing the outside power balance has completely shifted. After their long confinement in the tower seals, suddenly, a disturbance tears through the distant void. Qin Heng breaks through and arrives. The moment they spot him, every single demon lord immediately bows and greets him with utmost respect. Qin Heng nods, casually dismissing their pleasantries. "Carry on with your work. I'm here to deliver supplies." With a wave of his hand, a flood of treasures lights up the dark void. These aren't just any items, they are spoils collected from dozens of Saint Realm rings, making Qin Heng an undisputed tycoon among them. Freshly freed from the demon sealing tower and virtually penniless, these powerful demon emperors are ecstatic. With these materials, construction speeds up drastically, saving them massive amounts of time. While they shower Qin Heng with flattery, praising his unmatched wealth and vowing to serve under him, Qin Heng simply smirks. Of course he provided the materials. After all, he's building this array for his own use anyway. But from the perspective of these starved-for-freedom demon lords, hard work in exchange for safety, resource enhancement rewards, and personal guidance from Qin Heng feels like a massive blessing. Satisfied, Qin Heng leaves them to their industrious labor, which pushes construction forward at an unstoppable pace. Fast forward 1 month later in the boundless void, Jiang Wen is making rapid progress on a mission assigned by the Star God King. The real problem? The Star Palace is absurdly far away, taking an immense amount of time to reach on foot. But finally, after an exhausting journey, he stands before a sprawling, corrosive sea of chaotic water, rubbing his temples in utter exhaustion. If it weren't for the prestigious reputation of the demon-suppressing sect, he wouldn't have rushed here in such a mad dash. Recalling the records surrounding Bai Daoxian's lineage, Jiang Wen takes a deep breath before facing the raging, corrosive chaos sea. Forming a triangular hole with his hands, a burst of black energy erupts to carve out an independent spatial channel, shielding him from the fatal corrosive energy that would overwhelm even top martial emperor masters. After a full day of exhausting spatial teleportation, Jiang Wen finally reaches the end of the passage, determined to investigate the final flame of the demon-suppressing sect. Stepping out of the tunnel, expecting pitch-black void, he is stunned by a blinding golden light. Stretching across the horizon is a massive, 100-kilometer-long golden dragon lighting up the dark void. Floating right before it is Qin Heng, staring at him with a cold gaze. "You're finally here," Qin Heng says. Thanks to his recent surge in cultivation and mastery of the Karma Dao, Qin Heng easily calculated Jiang Wen's arrival and laid an ambush using his spatial array. Realizing he has walked right into a trap set by a peerless expert at the peak of the 9th grade martial emperor realm, whose spatial mastery rivals a true god, Jiang Wen's hair stands on end. The shock deepens as Jiang Wen spots the demon lords actively manipulating the array's core. Mocked by the surrounding demon lords who ridicule his fatal miscalculation, Jiang Wen realizes the terrifying foundation of the demon-suppressing sect far exceeds anything he imagined. But before he can even catch his breath, another disturbance erupts right behind him. The trap springs shut suddenly. An invisible force violently crushes the spatial passage behind Jiang Wen, sealing his only exit. Trapped in the void, Jiang Wen is utterly shocked. Not only has this mysterious youth completely cut off his escape route, but the sheer, effortless mastery over space required to do so deeply shakes Jiang Wen's confidence. Realizing that fighting a spatial master on their own turf is practically suicide, Jiang Wen quickly decides to stall for information. I just opened a spatial portal here for a quick visit. Can't we talk this over? Jiang Wen says, desperately trying to play it cool. The master of karma. What Jiang Wen doesn't realize is that Qin Heng is already steps ahead. Thanks to his mastery of the karma Dao, Qin Heng has already calculated Jiang Wen's intense, underlying hostility. Hearing this, Invader blatantly lie to his face, leaves Qin Heng inwardly amused, but he gladly plays along to secure a massive tactical advantage. In the laws of karma, every interaction deepens the unseen connection between two people. The longer they talk, the easier it becomes for Qin Heng to bypass his opponent's mental defenses and deduce their deepest secrets. If Jiang Wen were a weak cultivator, a single glance from Qin Heng would expose his entire life story. However, since Jiang Wen is a top-tier 9th-grade martial emperor, Qin Heng needs this brief conversation to fully lock onto his karmic threads and uncover his true motives. A desperate sob story. That's right, I am the successor of the demon-suppressing sect. Qin Heng replies smoothly. How did you know, and why are you here? Seeing that Qin Heng isn't immediately launching a fatal strike, Jiang Wen breathes a massive sigh of relief and instantly spins a fabricated sob story. He claims that back when he was just a weak, newly ascended martial saint, he received life-saving guidance from Bai Daoshan, a legendary powerhouse of the demon-suppressing sect. Jiang Wen lies through his teeth, stating he was too weak to help when the sect was destroyed. He claims that to preserve his life for a useful purpose, he joined the Star God Palace and has spent years secretly searching for the sect's successor to repay his eternal debt to Bai Daoqin. I finally found you, my good brother, Jiang Wen declares with exaggerated enthusiasm. While the story is a complete fabrication designed to save his own skin, Jiang Wen's underlying awe is very real. Back in the day, Bai Daoqin was an untouchable ruler of countless realms, while Jiang Wen was a nobody. Now, standing face to face with a successor who wields that same terrifying heritage, Jiang Wen is absolutely petrified, hoping his acting skills are enough to keep him alive. Realizing that fighting this terrifying youth head-on would risk his own martial foundation, Jiang Wen decides to gamble. He bets that Qin Heng knows little of the outside world, and won't risk a life-or-death battle with a divine-level powerhouse over nothing. What Jiang Wen doesn't know is that thanks to the Karma Dao, Qin Heng can essentially read his thoughts and already knows his true intention was to eliminate the demon-suppressing sect's lineage. Yet, listening to this master cultivator spin, a grandiose web of utter nonsense, brings an amused smirk to Qin Heng's face. More importantly, this conversation allows Qin Heng to piece together crucial intelligence about the historical conspiracy and coordinated attack against Patriarch Bai Daoqin. Playing along with the farce, Qin Heng nods smoothly. I suppose I really misunderstood you. Who exactly was it that dared offend the demon-suppressing sect? Tell me so we can exact vengeance together. Hearing this, Jiang Wen breaks out in cold sweat, realizing he almost dug his own grave. Desperate to escape, he hastily covers his tracks, claiming he only knows vague rumors about external forces like the Rakshasa Ghost Sea. Finding out that the demon-suppressing sect has a successor brings me immense peace. Jiang Wen lies smoothly, eager to bail. I will return to gather intelligence. Once all our enemies are identified, we will strike together. But first, brother, could you please restore the spatial pathway for me? Realizing Jiang Wen has no useful intelligence left to offer, Qin Heng signals the demon lords to activate the array. Golden dragons roar to life, unleashing a devastating surge of energy that makes Jiang Wen's face drop. Refusing to play along any longer, Jiang Wen rips open a spatial crack and steps through, diving into a parallel dimension where physical attacks cannot reach him. Smirking at his own spatial mastery, Jiang Wen assumes he has completely outplayed his opponent, but his confidence shatters instantly when he looks ahead and sees Qin Heng standing right there in the dimensional layer, completely unbothered. How is this possible? Jiang Wen gasps in disbelief as Qin Heng casually matches him step for step through the third, fourth, and fifth dimensions until spatial resistance halts their movement entirely. If it doesn't move, let's fight right here, Qin Heng declares. With fists wreathed in fierce black light, Qin Heng launches a ferocious assault. Jiang Wen is thrown entirely on the defensive, forced to block blow after bone-crushing blow. Stunned by this absolute god-tier combat power, Jiang Wen realizes this monstrous talent makes Bai Daoxian look mild by comparison. Trapped in a brutal clash within the collapsing spatial layers, Qin Heng maintains absolute dominance, relentlessly wearing down his opponent as they crash back down through the dimensional planes. Dragged back into normal space, after 3 minutes of brutal combat, Jiang Wen finds himself completely paralyzed by compressed spatial energy. Before he can even react, a head-on collision rips blood from every orifice, followed immediately by a spatial blade from Qin Heng that cuts straight through him. In barely 5 minutes, a top-tier 9th-grade martial emperor, a powerhouse whose combat strength rivals a true god, is brought to the brink of death. Without wasting words, Qin Heng binds the broken warrior with black chains, lifts him with one hand, and flies back to the Union Realm base. Watching from below, the demon lords are utterly awestruck. They realize Qin Heng defeated a true god-level master, wielding spatial Dao with terrifying ease, outclassing even the legendary Bai Daoxin in raw growth speed. While Bai Daoxin clawed his way to the top through endless trials and tragedies, Qin Heng's meteoric rise has been unstoppable. Convinced that Qin Heng is destined to crush all enemies, the demon lords enthusiastically return to constructing the Grand Mobile Array, which is empowered by Qin Heng's supreme karmic calculations. Back at his base, Qin Heng tosses the nearly dead Jiang Wen to the ground and demands answers. Tell me everything. The truth behind the destruction of the demon-suppressing sect, who sent you, and why you came for me. Despite his critical condition, Jiang Wen grins and stubbornly refuses, knowing full well that betraying the cunning star god king would bring a fate far worse than death. Seeing that Jiang Wen still refuses to talk, Qin Heng remains expressionless, gathers a potent dark blue energy in his palm, and slams it down. A harrowing scream echoes out. Utilizing advanced Taoist torture techniques that simultaneously shatter and repair the soul, Qin Heng inflicts a level of agony far beyond anything the Star God King could conjure. Even with a 9th-grade martial emperor's iron will, Jiang Wen breaks under the relentless torment. After 3 grueling days of physical and mental torture, Jiang Wen's consciousness finally shatters completely. Seeing him completely broken, Qin Heng pauses and uses a faint white light to gently revive him. Groggily waking up, Jiang Wen begs for mercy, completely willing to spill every secret. But just as he thinks it's over, Qin Heng casually replies that he was just taking a brief rest before launching into another 2 hours of agonizing torture. When Qin Heng finally stops and restores his mind once more, a thoroughly broken Jiang Wen caves entirely. Nodding frantically like a pecking chick, Jiang Wen begins to confess. When the demon-suppressing sect fell, he was merely a nameless martial ancestor, and Patriarch Bai Daoqian stood as an absolute, unbeatable titan of unmatched strength. The demonic clan had a major flaw: too many internal factions with powerful bloodlines, and none willing to submit to the others. Taking advantage of this, humanity united under the leadership of the demon suppression sect and launched a counterattack, pushing the demon forces into a series of defeats. Qin Heng agrees that they hold the advantage, knowing full well that internal conflict can completely destroy a race. Back then, Bai Daoshan was the pioneer of proxy clans with massive influence, fueled by a lifelong vendetta after his village was slaughtered by demons in his childhood. Bai Daoshan stubbornly refused to compromise with any demonic factions and pushed for their total destruction. However, Jiang Wen reveals that this uncompromising attitude alienated many humans, because overall demon strength still far surpassed humanity's, and humans only won due to internal demon division. Bai Daoshan's relentless pressure risked forcing the demons to unite and launch a devastating direct counterattack. Sensing an opportunity, some humans grew reluctant to risk their lives further. They secretly conspired and formed an alliance with the demonic factions to eliminate Bai Daotian. Jiang Wen denies having any personal involvement in the conspiracy at the time since he was a nobody, but as his cultivation broke through and he rose to a high position within the Starry Sky Divine Palace, he learned the truth. The Starry Sky Divine King led the conspiracy alongside the Rakshasa Demon Sea and other forces, successfully trapping and killing Bai Daoshan. Listening intently, Qin Heng connects the dots. This betrayal mirrors how he was recently cornered by the 8 major forces of Qingfeng County. Realizing the grave danger, Qin Heng zeroes in on the mastermind. Starry Sky Divine Art. They are the ones behind the destruction of the demon suppression sect, and they even plan to kill me. Given Bai Daoshan's immense contributions to humanity and the help Qin Heng once received from the demonic sect, he takes it upon himself to seek vengeance. Our current target is to destroy the Starry Sky Divine Art, then capture and torture that Starry Sky Divine King, Qin Heng declares coldly. Begging for mercy, Jiang Wen pleads, Divine King, I've said everything I know, please let me go. Refusing to take chances, Qin Heng extends his palm and places it directly on top of Jiang Wen's head. Now, I will shrink your soul. If you dare to resist, you will face torture alone. Unleashing a faint wave of dark energy, Qin Heng begins rummaging through Jiang Wen's soul memories, unlocking a vast web of secrets. Unleashing his soul Dao mastery, Qin Heng forces his energy directly into Jiang Wen's crown chakra. Despite Jiang Wen's desperate resistance, his weak physical state is no match for Qin Heng's overwhelming soul-searching technique. After 10 minutes of intense mental probing, Qin Heng pulls back with a cold realization. Jiang Wen was lying and heavily embellishing details to shift blame. Far from an innocent bystander, Jiang Wen is an absolute lackey and one of the 6 top generals of the Starry Sky Divine King, directly responsible for countless atrocities. Jiang Wen is utterly shocked that Qin Heng bypassed the grueling barriers usually required to read a 9th-rank martial emperor's mind with such effortless ease. Deciding to use the captive to his advantage, Qin Heng drags Jiang Wen along with his black chains rather than killing him outright. Keeping him alive helps maintain appearances and avoids alerting the Starry Sky Divine Art faction prematurely. Moving with blinding speed, Qin Heng arrives back at the territory of the demon suppression sect. Cultivator, geniuses from various realms, gaze up in awe as they spot their sect master dragging a powerful captive through the sky. Surveying the flourishing, rebuilt mountain gates, Jiang Wen silently acknowledges a harsh reality. True power overrides all rules, and Qin Heng's overwhelming might naturally draws legions of followers to the sect's rapid rise. Without wasting a moment, Qin Heng brings Jiang Wen straight to the demon ceiling tower at the back of the mountain. Manipulating the jade tablet within his mind, Qin Heng now wields complete control over the tower, smoothly entering the sacred structure with his strengthened abilities. Inside the crimson-pillared demon-ceiling tower, dark runes crawl across blood-red stone walls, and powerful demon lords wait imprisoned in individual cells. Hearing footsteps approach, the trapped demons eagerly beg for their release, hoping Qin Heng has finally come to free them. Instead, Qin Heng hurls Jiang Wen into a cell at the very top of the tower. When Jiang Wen tries to escape and hits the iron bar barrier, a terrifying defensive force slams him to the ground, sending him coughing up blood. The imprisoned demon lords quickly gather around to gawk at the new arrival. Mocking the newcomer, they find twisted amusement in seeing a human locked up in their domain. Infuriated, Jiang Wen snaps back, reminding them that he is a high-ranking general of the Starry Sky Divine Art and demanding respect. Hearing his arrogant threats, the neighboring demon lords fly into a rage. Unleashing multicolored bursts of concentrated energy straight through their cell bars, they bombard Jiang Wen with a ferocious barrage that leaves him screaming in agony. A few days later, a bruised and battered Jiang Wen stares in absolute disbelief. He watches in pure frustration as the demonic prisoners manage to pierce the prison barriers with their energy attacks while he remains completely trapped. Realizing the brutal double standard of his imprisonment, a desperate desire to fight back ignites inside him. Jiang Wen was furious. He couldn't defeat Qin Heng, but he was certain he could crush a bunch of prisoners. Flaunting his aura as the Lord of Space, he unleashed a single move, Space Crack. The void shattered like broken glass, creating a lethal cutting force. But the moment the cracks hit the cage pillars, they vanished instantly. The demon lords burst into laughter, revealing they had been trapped there for millennia and knew how to weaponize the prison's energy to exhaust him daily. Realizing he was facing legendary figures like the six-eared macaque demon and the peerless tiger demon from 80,000 years ago, Jiang Wen quickly lowered his guard out of self-preservation. When the demons realized Jiang Wen recognized them and had been thrown onto this floor by Qin Heng, their attitudes shifted from contempt to peer-level conversation. Forced to cooperate, Jiang Wen confessed that he came to assassinate Qin Heng, failed, and belonged to the outside world's Nebula Divine Gate. The mention of Nebula Divine Gate instantly shocked and intrigued the demon lords, opening the door to unexpected revelations. Jiang Wen drops a massive bombshell. Bai Daoxin is dead, and the era of the demon suppression sect has collapsed. Hearing that a supreme powerhouse of that caliber has actually fallen leaves the ancient demon lords utterly in disbelief. They pepper Jiang Wen with questions about how it happened, and how someone as formidable as Qin Heng rose to power in this new era. Finding themselves starved for entertainment after millennia in isolation, the demon lords quickly shift from fierce prisoners to an eager audience, hanging on to Jiang Wen's every word as he spills the details of the outside world. Yet, while the ancient entities are busy reminiscing and marveling at how humanity's landscape has warped, the plot shifts instantly to a grander scale. Deep within the chaotic void, a massive, dark palace, stretching across tens of thousands of square kilometers hangs suspended in the air. Inside the Star God Palace's main hall, terrifying entities radiate a suffocating, blood-curdling energy, signaling that a much larger storm is brewing beyond the prison walls. Back at the Star God camp, anxiety spikes as communication with Jiang Wen completely breaks down. Feng Shen faces intense interrogation from the other generals, defending his intelligence reports by highlighting Jiang Wen's immense combat prowess as the third strongest among the 6 divine generals. Suspecting that the terrifying shadow of Bai Daoxin might have somehow returned through the demon suppression sect, the Star God King steps out from behind the curtain and orders a full mobilization. The massive Star God technical vessel rumbles to life, charging directly toward the corrosive Chaos Sea. Desperate to crush the emerging threat, the Star God King expends massive amounts of energy to push forward, fully prepared for a grueling war. However, on the other side, within the corrosive Chaos Sea, no fierce battle awaits. Instead, Qin Heng sits comfortably at the center of absolute dominance. Leveraging his control over the spiritual energy of multiple realms, Qin Heng has successfully established cross-realm trade routes, building powerful flying magical treasures that conquer the chaotic air currents. In just half a month, 80% of the resources once trapped by the corrosive Chaos Sea fall securely into the hands of the demon suppression sect. To further cement his unstoppable power, Qin Heng begins releasing the supreme true god-level demon lords from the highest tier of the demon ceiling tower, quietly sitting on his white mat inside the main hall of the cloud domain, ready to face whatever storms the star gods bring. A massive surge of spiritual energy erupts across the newly expanded demon suppression sect, bathing the entire sect in a brilliant 7-colored light. This overwhelming wave washes over the disciples, triggering massive breakthroughs that shoot their cultivation levels straight up by leaps and bounds. Sitting quietly on his mat, Qin Heng absorbs the torrential energy as his aura reaches an explosive tipping point. Just 15 minutes later, Qin Heng snaps his eyes open. He has officially broken through to the true god realm. Even sitting in the early stage of this new realm, his comprehension of the Tao allows to him to match a normal tier 3 true god with ease. But power is only part of the reward. His mastery over causality and foresight skyrockets instantly. Before the Star God King's forces can even close in, Qin Heng's heightened perception effortlessly tracks their movements and hidden intent, rendering any sneak attack useless. With overwhelming power and heightened awareness now in his hands, Qin Heng prepares to step back into the void to finalize his grand formation blueprint, leaving his enemies completely outmatched. With his newly elevated true god perception, Qin Heng tears open a spatial rift and steps effortlessly into the boundless ocean, mocking how casually others wield the Tao of space compared to his absolute mastery over reality. Transforming into a streak of black light, he arrives directly at the Demon Lord's construction site. Without missing a beat, Qin Heng's hands blur as he modifies their grand formation blueprint, adding complex layers that far surpass their primitive understanding. Left in utter awe of his tactical genius, the Demon Lords gratefully accept the new instructions. In just 1 month, Qin Heng's sweeping campaign successfully conquers and connects all 109 isolated realms, establishing stable transport routes and completely transforming the lives of the populace. With resources and talent flowing freely into the demon suppression sect, Qin Heng begins recruiting fresh disciples from across the realms, setting the stage for an even greater expansion of his growing empire. Back at the Demon Sealing Tower, Qin Heng's mastery over the Tao allows him to drastically accelerate the release of high-tier prisoners. At the top floor, the six-eared macaque demon begins to fade as he prepares to break free, exulting in his long-awaited freedom and eager to throw a grand celebration outside. While the other trapped demon lords look on with intense envy and sorrow over their own continued confinement, they turn their attention to Jiang Wen, who is still stuck in the corner. Mocking Jiang Wen for his foolish attempt to assassinate Qin Heng, the departing demons jokingly pity his bleak future, predicting he will be left rotting in the tower for another 80,000 years. Furious and insulted, Jiang Wen curses at them as they celebrate, but as reality sets in, a sudden wave of panic washes over him. With all the powerful demon lords finally leaving the tower, Jiang Wen realizes he is about to be left completely alone. With the illusion surrounding the six-eared macaque demon reaching its peak, he bids farewell to the remaining prisoners and vanishes into freedom. Left behind in the tower, the other trapped entities continue bickering and counting down the days until their own release, leaving Jiang Wen to panic over the terrifying prospect of being left entirely alone in his cell. Meanwhile, after a month-long journey delayed by its massive size, the corrupted Star God Palace finally arrives outside the corrosive Chaos Sea. Standing tall on the palace deck, Star God King Zhao Yile remains confident. Having boosted his power by 30% and reaching the Tier 3 True God realm, he dismisses the threat of the Demon Suppression sect remnants, fully believing that even a resurrected Bai Daoxin wouldn't be able to stop him. Stepping out into the open air, the Star God King thrusts his palm forward, unleashing a storm of glowing starlight that slams into the corrosive sea, carving out a massive vacuum zone as he prepares to crush whatever resistance awaits inside. Forcing a stable passage through sheer force, the Star God King tears open a path into the Forbidden Zone, confident that his Tier 3 True God Might and Supreme Star Tao will crush any remnants of the Demon Suppression sect. Marching forward with his divine generals, he expects a desperate, disorganized enemy. Instead, the portal opens to reveal a breathtaking and terrifying spectacle. Majestic divine beasts, including Chillins, heavenly phoenixes, and golden dragons, all radiating true divine power, roam freely across the space, backed by an unimaginably complex array of defensive formations. Hovering calmly above the array in a dark robe stands Qin Heng. Having thoroughly absorbed Jiang Wen's memories, Qin Heng instantly recognizes the Star God forces as his ultimate enemies. Fully prepared, he taps his finger and unleashes an overwhelming wave of cosmic energy that illuminates the skies across multiple realms, broadcasting the impending clash for all to see. With every high-tier demon lord freshly released from the tower and his mastery over the Tao fully integrated, Qin Heng stands unfazed, leaving the invading star gods suddenly questioning whether they have walked straight into a trap. Realizing the sheer terror of Qin Heng's formations, the star god generals panic and urge the Star God King to retreat. But Qin Heng gives them no escape route, sealing off their passage instantly. With a booming voice that echoes across multiple realms, Qin Heng declares his vengeance for the betrayal of the Demon Suppression sect 80,000 years ago, announcing himself as the new sect master. Massive waves of majestic energy beasts roar forward from Qin Heng's array, clashing violently with the Star God forces and flooding across countless realms, instantly racking up a massive surge of demon points and overwhelming prestige for the master of the Demon Suppression sect. Cornered with nowhere to run, the Star God King and his elite masters unleash their most lethal attacks, confident that even their legendary predecessor, Bai Daoxin, fell before them. Yet, as the cosmic shockwaves ripple through the battlefield, the invading forces realize too late that Qin Heng's true power has already evolved far beyond anyone's worst nightmares. With his memories completely plundered, Star God King Zhao Yile is erased into nothingness by a surge of dark energy. The massive amount of demon points gained from dismantling the Star God forces pushes Qin Heng's power even higher, providing more than enough energy to completely empty out the Demon Sealing Tower. Projecting his divine soul directly to the highest floor in Kangyun Domain, Qin Heng appears before the remaining demon lords. Terrified yet ecstatic, the ancient entities immediately drop to their knees, showering him with desperate flattery to secure their early release. As the tower clears out, Qin Heng's gaze falls upon Jiang Wen cowering in the corner. Recognizing that leaving the hostile space master alive is a loose end, Qin Heng unleashes an invisible wave of pressure that instantly blasts Zhang Wen into a puddle of blood. Watching their former tormentor get wiped out without a second thought, the newly freed demon lords quickly join in, loudly cheering for Qin Heng and praising his decisive justice. With all obstacles crushed and his empire fully unleashed, Qin Heng stands victorious, ready to rule over the boundless realms. With the Star God faction completely eradicated, Qin Heng broadcasts his victory across multiple realms, generating an overwhelming surge of demon points and fulfilling his promise to free the remaining demon lords. As the ancient entities burst out of their cages in sheer ecstasy, Qin Heng immediately shifts his gaze to the next target on his list, the Rakshasa Demon Sea. Using his unmatched mastery over the Tao of space, Qin Heng teleports across dimensions, crossing vast oceans teeming with dense spiritual energy in mere hours. Arriving in the territory of the demon realm's strongest faction, he easily dispatches a true god-level sea demon before coming face to face with the ruler of the Demon Waste Sea, a bizarre four-headed entity wielding twin red swords. Recognizing the terrifying fate of the Star God faction, the demon leader attempts to reason with Qin Heng, arguing that the past conflict was driven by mutual hostility and offering terms for peace. Unmoved by the negotiations, Qin Heng steps forward, ready to unleash his fury and settle the blood debt of the demon suppression sect once and for all. Desperate to survive, the Rakshasa demon leader attempts to negotiate a truce, offering to become Qin Heng's subordinate. Unfazed, Qin Heng uses the battle as an opportunity to study his opponent, standing completely still for 15 minutes as he quietly absorbs the mystic essence of the emotional Tao. Once he completely masters the new Tao, Qin Heng instantly drops the act. With a flick of his wrist, an overwhelming pressure pins the four-headed demon in place, shattering his body into bloody pieces with a single explosive blow. With the Rakshasa Demon Sea obliterated, Qin Heng's unstoppable campaign surges forward across the infinite void. 2 months later, arriving at the Destiny Realm, the supreme ruler Qi Yun and his nobles bow deeply in absolute submission, welcoming King Qin Heng as his majestic fleet officially conquers the next massive territory. Continuing his sweeping campaign across the infinite void, Qin Heng's forces effortlessly conquer surrounding realms, subjugating lords who surrender without resistance, while gathering vital resources for his future cultivation. Led by the powerful Golden Winged Daping, Qin Heng's elite army tears through territories at lightning speed, far outstripping his previous pace. Half a year later, Qin Heng returns to the roots of the demon suppression sect in Kangyun Domain. The sect has been entirely restored into a magnificent, paradise-like stronghold pulsing with vibrant spiritual energy. Standing quietly beneath the lush greenery by the dark, familiar tower, Qin Heng watches as the release progress of the final imprisoned demon lord nears completion. Moments later, a massive breakthrough rocks the tower as the last ancient demon lords emerge, having successfully harnessed their unique Taos to reach the Tier 3 True God realm. Yet, despite their terrifying strength, Qin Heng towers above them all, his mastery having long surpassed the ceiling of power. With a resounding boom, the Heaven-Earth-Fire Demon Covenant reaches its 100% completion rate, manifesting a colossal, muscle-bound heavenly fire pig across the sky as Qin Heng stands completely unrivaled at the pinnacle of the world. Unfazed by the massive Tier 2 True God power of the newly unleashed pig demon, Qin Heng casually dispatches him and orders him to report to the academy. As he turns his attention back to the demon ceiling tower, a faint white light flickers from within, suddenly materializing into a familiar figure. It is none other than Bai Daoxin, the legendary patriarch of the demon suppression sect from 80,000 years ago. Qin Heng steps forward to express his deep gratitude, thanking the patriarch for paving the way to the sect's glorious resurrection. Surprised by how Bai Daoxin ended up trapped inside the tower while possessing such immense power, Qin Heng listens as the patriarch reveals the truth. The demon ceiling tower itself is a supreme Tao artifact found in a mysterious realm. When Bai Daoxin was on the brink of death, the artifact preserved his consciousness, acting as a bridge across time and space that ultimately helped Qin Heng travel back and rewrite his destiny. As his energy begins to fade away, Bai Daoxin smiles warmly, content to witness the ultimate rise of the demon suppression sect before his physical form vanishes completely, leaving Qin Heng standing at the absolute apex of the universe. Sharing a deeply empathetic bond over their shared pasts of betrayal and suffering within the soul-refining realm, Bai Daoxin imparts his final wisdom to Qin Heng. He reminds him that true mastery over destiny comes from absolute control and inner strength, proving that one's fate ultimately rests in their own hands. With those final words, Bai Daoxian's energy completely dissolves, leaving behind an empty void. Standing firm, Qin Heng nods in quiet understanding. Having forged his own path through sheer power and absolute resolve, he realizes he no longer needs external crutches or artifacts to ascend. With a clear mind, entirely free from worldly burdens, Qin Heng stands untouchable, ready to conquer every height the martial arts world has to offer.